with the man Bankie and Company, alongside Yahsonn Tafari. It's your weekly educational show, and tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture. Hey, this man Easy, inviting you to tune in. It's all about everything agriculture with the man Bankie and Company, alongside Yahsonn Tafari. It's your weekly educational show, and tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture. Hey, this man Easy, inviting you to tune in. It's all about everything agriculture with the man Bankie and Company, alongside Yahsonn Tafari. It's your weekly educational show, and tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture. Hey, this man Easy, inviting you to tune in. It's all about everything agriculture with the man Bankie and Company, alongside Yahsonn Tafari. It's your weekly educational show, and tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture. Hey, this man Easy, inviting you to tune in. It's all about everything agriculture with the man Bankie and Company, alongside Yahsonn Tafari. It's your weekly educational show, and tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture. Hey, this man Easy, inviting you to tune in. It's all about everything agriculture with the man Bankie and Company, alongside Yahsonn Tafari. It's your weekly educational show, and tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you
have two doctors in the house. Dr. McWilliams, greatly appreciate you here. And then we have Dr. Julian Wong. Leave it like that. Okay, we have Criss Broadbelt, and we have
fine, thank you.
Akiesha Fergus. So those are the two students and the two doctors. So we have a lot to learn about health this evening. So looking forward for the discussion. Yahsonn, how you doing? I know it's been a rainy day, and for me, it was a beautiful day. Get a lot done on the farm and so forth. So what about you?
Yes, I can say the same. You know, farmer's life, you know, when folks who want to party are upset with the rains, we smile, you know, it's a joyous time for us. So, wonderful day. I got out and I was able to check to see if there was any damage. You know, I've got some young suckers coming up, some watermelons, some sorrel, some okras, and so, you know, it seems as if I didn't really get much of a damage from the rain. And so, yeah, that's wonderful. Want to say good evening to Oli. Want to say good evening to Liamiga. And, you know, I'm hopeful that eventually that these names would be the official names of the islands. And we could, you know, just forget about this St. Kitts and St. Christopher and all that. Wally was the original indigenous name, and Liamiga was the indigenous name. And, those are the only two words, I think, of the indigenous languages that we still have, maintained. And so we are seeking to make sure that we keep them. The entire Eastern Caribbean, Montserrat, Antigua, Dominica, St. Vincent, it doesn't matter where you are right now locked into us. Those around the globe, it might be morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you are, whether it's in Russia, China, America, Taiwan, Africa. We have listeners from all over the world that usually log into us here on Real Entertainment Network. We are streaming simultaneously on Twitch TV, Facebook, and YouTube. So we capture a wide audience. And though this program is called Everything Agriculture, folks might be wondering, everything agriculture, and they're talking about having doctors and health and all that. Well, this is part of what we are seeking to do here in seeking to help to broaden the scope of agriculture and get people to recognize that agriculture is not just limited to the typical mindset that people have, working in the ground and looking dirty and wearing old boots and driving around some old pickup truck and we are part of that change that we want to see. And a part of that would, take some education. And like one of my professor colleagues is a colleague is seeking to brand right now or patent. He calls it brain re-engineering. And so we need a brain re-engineering where agriculture is concerned with our youths. And that's part of what we seek to do on this program that's called Everything Agriculture. And so the name itself tells you that we're not just going to limit to one aspect of agriculture, but we're taking the wide scope. And so this evening, we have with us members of the Jade Health Clinic that has been around here on Nevis for a number of years. And I guess tonight, as we get into the discussion, we're going to find out how long they have been around and, how much of an impact they would have had on Nevis and St. Kitts, and I'm sure to the rest of the entire Eastern Caribbean as well, because I'm sure that they do have patients and clients from different Caribbean islands as well, and maybe even on the international scene. So we learn all about that this evening, and I am very much happy also to see that seemingly we have two local understudies, and that is really making me smile. We have Akiesha Fergus, who was a former student of mine, so I really feel extra proud, knowing that she's in the agri field and getting a lot of accolades right now for agri business and so on. And now I'm learning because I didn't know about this aspect, but it's good to know that she's taking this aspect to that level. Criss, I am not sure if I had any experience with you because I'm not certain if you went to Charter Secondary School or GSS. But
No, I went to JSS.
okay, yeah, so I didn't have that experience with you. But Akiesha, well, I taught at the primary school, so I think maybe she went to GSS as well, but I taught at primary schools. So I'm looking forward to learning, a lot more about Jade this evening, as the audience, I'm sure, would be looking forward to. Learning more about some of the services that you offer, how folks can get in touch with you guys and, get in touch with the services and learn a little bit more about how my former student and, well, another young man here in Davis as well is doing and how they're catching on and all that. So, Bankie, I'm really looking forward to this, and I'm sure the audience also is looking forward to this discussion. So thank you everyone for being a part of the discussion.
All right.
Thank
All
you,
right,
sir.
guys, good evening again, and welcome. Thank you guys for being a part of the Everything Agriculture Show. Greatly appreciate you guys choosing us to share a wealth of information. So let me start with Dr. Charles McWilliams. Why Nevis? Why the name Jade? And why this holistic approach when it comes to health? Because it's agriculture and the same, and what you recommend is a lot of plant-based products and stuff like natural medicine. So why that area?
Well, I moved here 36 years ago And I was building at that time a electronic device to remove facial wrinkles. And I chose Nevis as a place to manufacture it. And I met Sam Daniel and was just graciously treated by him. And he said, we'd like to have you on Nevis. And I said, well, how long would it take me to get licensed? And I'll never forget the day, because he told me, he said, would tomorrow be soon enough? He said, meet me at the administration building, and he says, I'll motion to cabinet, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. And that's how it all started. So I moved to Nevis and started building these machines. And of course, on the background of all of that, I was also into electroacupuncture. My teacher was Reinhold Voll in Germany. And that, as you know, is an electronic diagnostic system I've used now for nearly 40 years. And I build that equipment as well. But I learned how to remove facial wrinkles with an electronically assisted massage method that turned out to be very fruitful. And we manufactured here hundreds of machines down through the years. And I took it all over the world. I took it to Korea, the Philippines, Japan, Hong Kong, China, Canada, United Kingdom, Europe, Belgium, took it all over the world, and it was very successful. And that's how I ended up here. So the name Jade was a trademark name. That's how it originated. We called it Jade, and we created a logo for it, and I registered a trademark with the Patent Office in the United States, and the name just stuck. That's how Jade came about.
Beautiful. So you're engineer, you're engineering your own machineries, and so Nevis is a blessed place to have these products being manufactured here and them taken all over the world at the
Yes,
same
that's
time,
correct.
helping people.
Physics and science.
That's a beautiful thing. So when natural,
you're breaking up, Bankie. I think you're having some network issues over on that side. So you're going in and out. But while you probably get that started out, I'll probably continue on here. I am very happy that I'm hearing this bit of information, because I'm sure a lot of people who are listening this evening would not have known that all of this took place. I mean, you're talking about a face wrinkle, taking wrinkles out of people's faces, and this was manufactured on Nevis,
Yes.
and then distributed throughout the globe.
Yep.
And you're talking about what, 36 years ago? You said
36 years ago. I've been doing this for 40 years, and you know what was going on in the background of all of this is because back then I was considered one of those medical radicals, you know, and alternative medicine was not welcomed in the United States. So I learned of Nevis from a friend, and I'll never forget the day I flew in to St. Kitts, and that was the old days where I walked down the steps of the airplane. I got a goose chill down my back, and I said, I'm going to live here. And that's what happened. That's literally what happened.
just like that.
And just like that, I met Billy Herbert. Billy Herbert was a great man for me, and incorporated the business. He said, we want you here. But I was having trouble with the St. Kitts government getting the license approved because at that time the garbage barge had just gone through, you know, the waters here, St. Kitts and Nevis. And somebody in government was insisting I perform an environmental impact study on manufacturing these machines here. And that turned out to be quite a quagmire and delayed the whole thing for several months. And then someone told me about Nevis, and I flew down here and I met Sam Daniel, and the next day I had my license. So that's why I'm on Nevis.
that quick. This is destined to be alignment.
That's how I ended up here. And I've never regretted a day of being on Nevis. This is the most blessed, sacred, beautiful island on the planet as far as I'm concerned. And I've been to a lot of places, and there's no place like Nevis. I think we all know that.
Beautiful. I know over the years you have treated a lot of patients. You know, people sometimes have to pick up folks from the boat, bring them over to you, drop them off. When they finish, they call me back, pick them back up, send them back over to St. Kitts. What are some of the stuff that commonly you'll have to treat people for?
Well, I have at this point over 7,000 patients in the Federation, and everything has walked in the door. I've seen even the Benz has driven up to my doorstep. So basically, I do primary care, and I've gone on since I arrived here. I've done residencies and internships in Sri Lanka, the Philippines, United States. I spent 2 weeks in the emergency room in Idaho. I've had a lot of and third world experience in medicine too, in Mexico, South America, Colombia, Brazil, Ecuador. I've seen tropical diseases. I've seen all kinds of things in my years of experience. And being an eclectic and being a bookworm, what most people read in a week, I can read in a few hours. I'm an extremely fast reader, and I have, so many people have said that I have an apparent photographic memory. I don't know what that really means, other than the fact that when I read something, I read it with the full intention of complete understanding of it. So that's what I do. So it's been a very long, beautiful growth experience being here on Nevis in the beautiful air, the tropical breeze, the beautiful people, quiet environment, and I continue to do that. So agriculture is right up my alley because I have always felt, and I can explain it to you on a more scientific basis, of the problem with disease on planet Earth is the food, period. There's no getting away around it. And most people don't understand the ramifications of that because they are continuing to accept and think in the limited Western model of food, which is, fast carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, and minerals. And that's just one aspect of it. There's much deeper nutritional factors involved with food that is it is the prime factor. And I want to make Nevis the great place where we can make that transformation, not just for the people here, but also as an educational, agricultural tourism aspect to bring people here from all over the world to see it not only in the field, but also see it working in a clinic. Right, Akiesha?
Bankie,
Well,
Bankie,
yes.
hold on, right? Because here's
Yes.
what I am seeing, feeling,
Mm-hmm.
and experiencing here that I
Yes.
think, based on just the tip of the iceberg here from Dr. Charles, it's giving me the
Yes.
impression that we are going to have some very interesting conversations and discussions. And just by listening, there's a lot of questions that I want to follow up on. And so
Mm-hmm.
before we get too deep into, Dr. Charles, I think we should give the other panelists an
Yes.
opportunity to do their introductory statements, and then we come back to Dr. Charles because I see that we're going to have a lot of questions, and he seemed to be a very knowledgeable guy, and a lot of things that he's
Yes.
sharing that I really didn't know that all of this has happened on Nevis, and so let's move on to Dr. Julian, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you're going to top what we have just heard so far, but I'm hopeful that you're going to give us another interesting story as well. So, good evening, and give us your introductory remarks. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at Jade as
Yes.
well.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Julian Wongloising. For the ones that only heard the Wong, there are two more parts. But I do not live on Nevis. I love Nevis. I come here to work in the clinic with Dr. Charles from time to time. And I have been involved in the Jade Clinic and the order that is also a part that we have here in Nevis, that is the order of, that is the Sacred Monastic Order of Hope. And we are part of the St. John Order, Hospitaler Order. That is something I joined in 2014 because Dr. Charles and my uncle have been working since the 90s together. And my uncle is a traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncturist doctor. So I had a little bit of the natural introduction. Me, myself, I'm a construction engineer. I stopped working as a construction engineer and I went into the natural medicine in the last 11 years. Have not been really working in it. I have started with essential oils, did a lot with essential oils. Almost 25 years I've done essential oils. I still use them. Then I started studying with Dr. Charles. And that was one of the most interesting studies I've done and still doing, because I have learned stuff that I never knew. So yes, that was interesting. And you're lucky that I'm here. I've been here since last week, Thursday, and I'm leaving on Sunday again. And I just love helping people. Whenever there are people in the clinic, I just love talking to patients, making them comfortable, helping them with whatever is bothering them. So that is me in a nutshell. And oh, I'm sorry, I'm from Curacao. I'm a Caribbean girl.
Okay, nice. Okay, so that's a little introductory statement from Dr. Julian. Now we're gonna stick with the ladies. So Chris, we're working with the ladies right now. We're gonna get to you. So Akiesha, good evening. Welcome to Everything Agriculture again. Because you would have been on the program with us before, but yeah, give us a little bit of your story and your involvement with Jade.
Hello, everyone. As they mentioned before, I am Akiesha Fergus. I am the owner of KL Blends, a smoothie bar over at the St. James Parish next to the Anglican Church. I am also a farmer. I am also a member of Helen's Daughter, which is an all-female farmer group. And I work at the Jade Clinic, being the lab assistant and learning everything else that he has shared with us.
Yeah, wonderful. Criss Broadbelt, good evening.
Good evening, sir. Good evening. Thank you again this evening. A pleasure. And as you said, my name is Christopher Broadbelt. I am currently employed at the Customs Department. I am also the founder of Serenity by Mackerel. That's a supplement brand that we manufacture supplements in the US, but we are selling them here locally. I'm also the president of the New Vision Foundation, where we do clean up sustainable development in the community, and we're currently involved in a project at the Senior Citizen. I have been studying underdoctorate for about 2 years now. The experience have been remarkable. I'm also a lab technician, well, a lab assistant, sorry, at the J clinic. where I help with blood analysis. In these blood analysis that Jade, we check for parasites, we check for clotting in the blood, especially with vaccinated persons. We also check for viruses, bacteria, chemicals, drugs, anything that you consume, you can basically find in the blood. If you have any deficiency, you can also see that in the blood. So that was one of my first steps in the clinic at Jade, and it's been remarkable since I've been there, and I've learned so much, and I'm continue to learn. I'm continue learning right now, so I'm just looking forward to the years ahead and continue studying under doc and seeing how
More into
far
the
this
mic, coming
journey.
up too clearly. Bring the mic closer to you, Chris, so it'll be much louder.
You could hear me better now?
Yeah, man. That's what I want to hear you.
That's
Not,
Okay,
not like you,
okay.
you,
You should have said
yeah,
something earlier,
yeah, man.
Banky. You
Nice.
got me at.
I just want
So
to
the
I'm
last
not sure
thing
if
you
it was the
hear.
internet, anything like that.
No,
Yeah, man.
I
You
was
put the
hearing
mic.
you, but it just wasn't that clear. So no, yes,
Yeah, I
Okay,
want
it
the
just
okay,
clear and
okay,
crystal. Yeah, I want the crystal clear.
okay, nice.
Let the world hear
Yeah,
you
nice.
nice. You put the
Yeah.
mic
So as I was,
in front of you. Yes.
saying, I mean, I just want to continue studying on the Jade and see how far this journey takes us, me and Akiesha, because we all in it together, you know.
yes, and I'm really really happy to hear this. I'm nearly envious of you guys, you know, in terms of getting this opportunity. Um, why I'm saying this is because it's something that well I believe in, and I guess you would recognize that I carry locks, Rastafari, and you know Rastafari generally are people who believe in the natural and nature way of doing things, and so we are, you know, the front runners in terms of that herbaceutical way of life, right? And so it's the first I think that we would have had recognized um, natural um, a herbal doctor, so to speak, on the island. Interesting when you said, Dr. Charles, that you know Nevis was perfect because historically, it was said that most of the Africans who came to Nevis, specifically Nevis in the Caribbean, were known as male men or medicine men or bush doctors, and so a lot of that's a part of our history. So a lot of the herbal traditions were just passed down. It was never really so much documented. But you that's why Akiesha you grew up and you would hear your grandmother say use this bush for that and use that, and if you get, you know, a swelling, use these kind of bush and put it on your foot, and they made tinctures and these different little things. But it is kind of interesting to have you, Dr. Charles, seemingly coming also from the pharmaceutical side, who was trained on that side, seemingly, and then making this switch. I guess now it's time to get back to, you know, because that's one of the questions that I wanted to ask. What is it that caused you to really, you know, make that switch, knowing that generally, as you mentioned, that this is a big fight over here, herbal versus pharmaceutical. In terms of your career, you could be making, you know, millions on the pharmaceutical side, but you opted to zoom in on this side. So, what is it that really drove you or drives you to be on this side, the natural herbal side?
Well, it's a very long story. I could say, you know, I was raised Presbyterian. My grandfather was a preacher. My father was devoutly Christian, as were my mother's side, and uh, I just didn't buy the whole Sunday school story. So when I was very young, I would travel over to Northwest Miami because I grew up in Miami. I was born there, and I went to the Theosophical Society. And I met some of the most interesting people there. And I learned very early on how to read books and read books fast. So I started buying all of these books on theosophy and, Hindu philosophy and chakras and metaphysics and all of these kinds of things. And then I finally settled down and decided to go back to school and went to the University of North Carolina because I used to go there in the summertime. And by the time I was 14, I was driving a tractor. My uncle taught me how to farm. Okay. And always had a kindling for nature because I grew up on a large farm. My mother's side family, they grew a lot during the summertime. They harvested tobacco. That was their cash crop, so to speak, during the year. And I would hang out with the farmers. I would just learn things, that I wouldn't have had any opportunity to do growing up in South Florida. And I went to the University of North Carolina, started doing pre-med, and I found in some magazine this mail order school that was teaching Chinese herbal medicine by correspondence. And I enrolled in it. And I took the whole course, and that sparked that I could say that's probably when it all started. So I went from Chinese medicine to acupuncture to anything and everything I could get my hands on. And I just ever since have been an avid student of medicine in general, not just pharmaceutic, but anything traditional, indigenous. I've studied them all. I've looked at all of these different types of things, and I've come to a synergy historically of understanding that there was 3 great epochs in medicine. Historically speaking, if you look at it from the standpoint of a medical historian. And that first epoch we could just simply call shamanism, and a great belief that most disease was caused by evil spirits and entities on the other side, so to speak. And then the break came around 2500 BC with 2 very interesting things that happened in history within 100 years of each of them. On the Greek side, you had Hippocrates forming what would become Greek medicine. And in China, you had the Yellow Emperor and his court assistant, Chai Po, who dictated the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Medicine. And that set off worldwide an entire movement of what I call humoral medicine. Medicine that's just basically earth, air, fire, and water. And that spread the gamut and basically filled medicine for more than 2,000 years. And the third epoch was, of course, the Renaissance in Europe, where alchemy merged into and became more definitive in what we would call today biochemistry, where the chemical elements were differentiated, delineated, the atom was discovered, molecules were discovered. So there's no longer 4 elements. There was now a periodic table of some 96 elements. And that's the third epochal period that we're in right now, which is biochemical pharmaceutical medicine, ignoring all the benefits of the prior humoral and shamanistic medicines. And without an appreciation of that, you'll never have the big picture. And if you can synthesize those in your mind and complete them all, then you become truly at that point holistic.
And so that's what you opted to deal with based on your experiences. You would have sought to include all of these aspects in what you practice.
Yes, generally speaking, that's correct. With one caveat, so to speak. There is one thing about the third epoch of medicine, and that is diagnosis. This is where, previously, because of the Catholic Church, because of the forbiddenness, even in Chinese culture, of cadaver anatomy and looking at the human body below the skin, anatomy was relatively in a very rudimentary state. And it wasn't until the period of people like Versailles, who was one of the early doctors of the Renaissance, wrote the fabulous color plates of the human anatomy because he was taking bodies out of graveyards and bringing them back to the university. That cadaver anatomy became standard in medicine and was, of course, very integral to the development of surgery. So as a result of that change and shift in medicine, diagnosis became more definitive. So I've learned to be a real stickler on old school diagnosis. Common sense diagnosis that used to be taught in medical school isn't taught anymore. Everything is reliance on radiology and biochemistry and lab reports and thinking you can prescribe away an illness with a pill or a tablet. That's all really, that is destroying medicine as we know it today. That this old school diagnosis, and I'm not the only one to say it. I mean, there was many professors of medicine back in the 1930s and 40s that were rebelling against this advent of corporate-dominated pharmaceutical medical school teaching, and now it's drifted to the extreme that we have it today. You have lots of doctors coming out of medical school which are actually very poor diagnosticians because they rely upon radiology and laboratory and they can't make a common sense diagnosis.
Yahsonn, I want to piggyback where Dr. McWilliams spoke about doing so, the illness depend on the food that you eat, which was specifying, which means if you're going to be eating something, it means it should be grown in a holistic way, in a safe way. So I want the doctor to expound on the importance of eating healthy and what would cause one to get ill and the type of parasites that can affect you and how this thing would affect you in a sense like that. So I know people are listening. I'm also wanting to let you know to be a part of the show. The telephone number is across the screen, and also you can send your WhatsApp messages and stuff, and we'll definitely read them. Any information or question you have for any of the doctors that are here now. So this is the time to take advantage, and then you can also reach out their practice over in your Newcastle area. So Doc, I want to explain the importance of not just going to the supermarket and eating and buying food, but knowing exactly where your food is coming from and how it should be grown. How eating alternative food can really affect you.
Well, from a simplistic aspect, the gut microbiota, the actual microbes in the gut, control a massive amount of bodily health. And just recently in today's medicine, that's starting to be recognized, that you start to see these little articles here and there. Could obesity be caused by one particular gut microbe or one particular gut organism? And now the explosive concept has evolved in what's called symbiogenesis, realizing that the human frame, the human body, all animals on Earth ultimately were derived from bacteria in the soil. That through an aspect of understanding evolution and paleontology and all of the microscopic ways that you can look at things today, the mitochondria itself that everyone talks about, that if you need more energy, you need your mitochondria working, correct? That's the big thing today, that even now,
yes,
oncologists are throwing in the towel and saying, all of these 50 years of looking at DNA as the cause of cancer, it was all wrong. DNA is not the cause of cancer. The cause of cancers is parasites, okay? It's bacteria. That's the focus where it starts. And where are these cancer-causing bacteria coming from? They're coming from the food. It's the perversion of agricultural products that people are putting these massive amounts of microbes through their system, and at some point they take hold and they become parasitic. So that's where the food comes into play, is that the richness of the soil and the microbial growth and the health of that microbial growth determines the strength of the plant, which then determines the strength of the fruits that it produces. And that's what animals and humans eat. And it's all in the food.
So, Doc, if it is this simple, we should grow more of our food in our backyard or in our living space. If the food is what is our source, car is like putting the gas into your car. Without eating, then we don't exist. So if it is this simple and common, as I can't say common sense, car, I'm not sure if it's common anymore. Why are we eating ourselves to death? Because that's basically what the masses are doing. I mean, a lot of these illnesses could really be prevented if we really eat off the trees and the stuff that is around us, instead of importing all this food coming from thousands and thousands of miles away. So over the years, because you've been here for a while now, over 30 plus years, how has the community changes from since you've been here? Is it getting worse or it's getting better?
It's getting worse. We call basically the great syndrome of world disease, which is pretty much universally recognized in medicine, is called metabolic syndrome. The breakdown of the metabolism of the cell leads to all kinds of different diseases and disorders. But if you looked at it from a core cause standpoint, just from a standpoint of biology, it's this harmonious metabolic breakdown that leads to all kinds of 101 diseases, so to speak. But the principal ones being today is, of course, the diabetes, the hypertension, the hyperlipidemia, also called high cholesterol. These are symptoms of these inner core problems. And of course, the final stage, the final two stages is first obesity and then ultimately cancer. So these are all diseases of metabolic breakdowns. That's fully recognized in medical science today. But medical science is trying to, fix these downstream problems with one drug for one disease, and it will never work. You don't fix hypertension with just a tablet, a pressure pill, and not pay attention to how much water the patient's drinking, how much salt they're using in their food, et cetera, et cetera. You don't pay to attention to all the other parameters that led to where and why this person has high blood pressure, including the stress they put themselves under, which adds to the whole thing. So we're seeing a multiplicity of all these problems, but it's, like I said from the beginning of the program, if you analyze it from a standpoint of just purely biology, it's the food. It's the food and the lack of good, if it's not the lack of good quality water, it's just the lack of not drinking enough water to keep the system and the tissues clean.
You said it's simple, but it seems like it's more different as simple as it is why people are not conforming to these things, eating and getting involved. So I mean, we have to take a whole systematic approach where the government, the church, the whole community really got to understand. I'm not sure if they're taking this part of the side serious or they just love the pharmaceutical, because you're the only one here with this type of clinic, and then you have how much more doctors within the federation. So it really shows that the people are to deal more with the pharmaceuticals and not the herbal medicine, and eating right, and instead of just sticking to the way of, well, you have a big plate, have a lot of this, lot of that, and it. So we really, so it goes back to we killing off ourselves, and then we're really spending most of this money into the healthcare system and stuff like that. Akiesha, as a lab assistant, a medical student studying at Jade Health Clinic, how has the experience been and going for you so far, and why did you take up this challenge to want to go along this path as a young farmer and an entrepreneur when it comes to dealing with herbal medicine? How did this, I mean, feeling well for me, how you transition, it was dealing with this, so you're making me smile too. So it's good.
Okay, first, I went to him as a patient back in
Okay.
2015. So before that, I entered a lot of pageants and I was successful a few times. So I used to wear a lot of makeup. And because you're traveling, you're meeting new people, you eat all kinds of stuff. So my face started to break out. And then someone told me about him and I went there. I got a couple tea bags. I drink the tea. And then about approximately 2 or 3 weeks after, I realized my face started clearing up from the acne. And trust me, I spent some money on some very expensive products that did not work. And I told myself, okay, this is something that I want to go into. Here I am taking tea that helps to clear up the acne in my face. I'm feeling more energetic. So then I started to do research. And I wanted to join his school and courses. So when he came back from COVID, I got the opportunity to do so. And trust me, it has changed my life for the better because there are so many young persons that are getting sick and a lot of young women that are walking around with acne and some persons that have a lot of health issues, stress issues, and so forth. I wanted to help. And being by the clinic, you learn so many things because now I am operating as well in the herb room. So I mix the herbs, give the lovely concoction for persons to drink and to get better. And seeing person's blood where normally because of how we are made up, you're going to see one or two parasites or bacteria. Sometimes you see nothing. But when you start to have an overgrowth of things, it will show in your blood. And just for the listeners to understand, we're pricking your finger, we're getting the blood, but everything that we're seeing on the screen under the microscope is coming from your gut. So when I see patients that are coming in with an overgrowth of those things, it somehow makes me sad, but at the same time happy because they come to the right place. And a lot of us don't know what is happening to us. All we know that we're sick, we're getting aches and we're getting pain. So it's very good to have that feeling where you're helping persons and then the patients see it on the screen and they have a moment of, wow, I need to change my diet. Because after seeing that, we go into, well, what is your diet like? Because that's one of the main things. So I'm giving thanks and I'm still learning because there's so much to learn. And yeah, that's about it.
Bankie, I think your mic is muted still.
I was
So
going over to Chris. I was saying that he had called me one day, had that interest in agriculture, more or less, and we met up, and then I had no need to check for him again because he got way past me. Then I get a call again. He had that interest when it come to CMAS and different stuff, and now he's been doing this thing, and then no one didn't know he was a part of Jade either. And then like Akiesha. So when I say young people just keep moving on different levels and levels and levels and higher vibration, it's a beautiful thing because this is what is needed. And to see them understudying Jade and in that environment, my heart is pleased because I mean Nevis and Single being a much better place, knowing that Jade accept them into his home and his practices and passing on this wealth of information along with also with Dr. Wang. It's a beautiful thing, and I think the public itself should, when they meet them, should at least give them some respect and honor them and encourage them also. And at the same time, they can also encourage others to get involved when they see young people thinking about being healthy, eating healthy, and they're not just being healthy, they also practice what they're preaching because they have farm. They actually growing some of the food that they eat and which they're doing it in a safe way so that anyone who get their product, at least they get something that is safe, which is build the immune system so they won't have to worry about eating unsafe food. So that's a beautiful thing. So Chris, what led you to get involved at the clinic also as Akiesha?
Well, basically, I went to Jade because, as I told you,
Pull the
I
mic to you.
saw.
Make sure pull the mic to you. Cause there's some
Can
wind
you hear me
here.
good now?
Yes.
Yes. So basically, I went to Jade to try and get him to sell some of my natural supplements. As I say, I've
Okay.
always heard about Jade. I've never been there. I've never been to the clinic before actually approaching them with the products. So I was there, and
Yes.
then Sylvia, the assistant, she started to tell me about everything that they offer. She started to tell me that they actually have a clinic. So I was like, a clinic? Where? So she said, the clinic behind there. I said, maybe a clinic behind there.
Mm-hmm.
She said, yeah, we got everything behind there. We do analysis, we do urine analysis, we check for hypertension, high blood pressure. So Sylvie told me about then she started to tell me about doc, and then she said, if you want to see what's happening, come back on Saturday. So I said, okay, no problem. So Saturday, I, you know, excited because I say, okay, I'm going to see what's going on over here. No, went over to Jade
Yes.
and met Doc. He welcomed me. He told me, yes, Sylvie told me about you, and I'm going to give you a little tour. And Doc showed me around the clinic, told me what they were doing. I got to see the blood analysis being done. I got to see the parasites in the blood. I've got to see how he interacted with people, how he started to, you know, heal people with his words, not just um, pricking them, or not just, he speaks to you in a way that you start to believe that, okay, I'm going to get better because we are finding the problem. It's not that you're trying to wonder, okay, I wonder if he knows what he's doing. No, he's actually asking you questions and you're saying, yeah, yeah, that's what's happening to me. And I've seen that. I said, okay, this is a genuine person. Like, this is a genuine practice. This is a natural practice. And it's something that I actually wanted to get into, to the point where I was doing research online, trying to find, medical schools and all of that online, not knowing that there was one here in Nevis operational with the level higher than those actually online. So that is how I started to, but that is how I fell in love with Jade. And every Saturday, once Doc is here, I'm over at Jade, helping in the lab, understudying him, listening him, interact with his patients, learning from him, making my notes. Occasionally, he'll turn to me and he'll ask me a question, and we'll laugh about it, just to get the patients a little bit settled, so they don't feel too uptight being in a doctor's office. So that is basically where my love for this aspect started with Jade.
Okay. I realize you mentioned school. So Doc, back to you. I just wanted to explain how this school work in case anyone listening and have that interest and don't know where to start. Cause it seems like Chris really didn't know the same was happening here, and this is new for me too. Cause I didn't know you do teaching and have known you been here for over 30 plus years. All going to high school in the 90s. I know you've been here and bring many people to your place and drop them off, pick them back up, and still doing it over the years. But I didn't know you had a school in a sense. So how does the classes work? How does that work?
Well, we could say it's a postgraduate school. It's all online. I do classes every Thursday night, every Sunday, some Tuesday nights, teaching all the time. And I started this project in 1996. I was one of the first online naturopathic schools in the world. I've been at this a very long time. And I've just been slowly building the courses and not advertising. I don't have huge amounts of funds. I don't have big donors that give me money, so I'm not controlled by the pharmaceuticals. It's just a natural outgrowth, and it's built up over the years to the point now we have over 1,000 students that have been enrolled in the school over the years.
Beautiful.
And now I have core programs that I do. Students of groups of 40 or 50, sometimes up to 100. And we do various courses on various topics. I have other teachers that contribute. We had a class just last night from Dr. Gomez from Costa Rica. She's a wonderful soul. She's a medical doctor and surgeon that switched hard. Okay, so she gave us a course on lymphatics, which is the lymphatic drainage of the head, and all of the things that go along with that, including behavioral changes and headaches and vision changes and all of that. So it's just an organic school that just keeps growing and growing. And I'm very pleased having two avid students here on Nevis now with Criss and Akiesha, because it's not just something you're learning online and you're memorizing these little tidbits and things. It's the fact that you can walk right in the clinic and see it in action. That's where the rubber really meets the road. Can you apply it? So my teaching method is I don't like to teach a class if you can't take something with you the next day and make it operational. There's no sense in memorizing any kind of scientific theory or theorem and carry that with you and never have any real experience. And, that's one of the critical stickler points of medical school these days. You go into medical school and they teach you all of these really wild genetic disorders and things that, if you even saw one case in your whole lifetime, it would be an experience. And why do they teach these medical students these kind of disorders? Well, I think they do it in part to hypnotize the student, to actually mentally beat them down into submission, thinking that all disease has to be very complicated and convoluted and difficult to diagnose, and it keeps you forever mystified, so that when you get out of school, your main teacher at that point becomes the pharmaceutical drug rep that walks in your clinic with a box of donuts and cups of coffee for the staff, and he sits you in your office and gives you a little PowerPoint or some cartoons on a computer and tells you about the next new drug. That's how stupid medicine has gotten in the last 20 years. Your biggest teacher is the pharmaceutical rep walking in the door that knows more about the pharmaceutical drugs than you do. It's crazy, and that's not medicine.
Listening to your doc along with the students. I mean, I've been doing this. We've been doing this show for over 5 years. We're speaking about people eating healthy, growing their food. Your food is your medicine. And now we have. I mean, I never know that we're interviewing you, so it's an honor for me interviewing you. So I must let me say that the universe just works in mysterious ways, in a sense, but. It is just as simple as it is, but it seems like the pharmaceutical industry is so big. It's like they downplay the natural medicinal part of it, where it is taboo. So most of your now patients, I would assume they also been to all these pharmaceutical doctors and stuff like that. Then at the last moment they reach to your doorstep. So Dr. Julian, I know you've been in transition from into this herbal medicine. So how has that been when it comes to working with patients and healing them and guiding them and some of the stuff that they've been through? How that been for you?
Well, I never had helping patients is helping people has always been side. It came naturally, and now I can structure it better. I can give them better advice. I can help them in a good direction. And for me, that is very important. And I take a lot of time with patients. I listen to them, and sometimes there are people that just want to talk, and that helps them. Sometimes they are really sick and they need something. I have not been working that long with patients, but even so, I help friends, I help family. Whenever I can, I help people. And the transition for me wasn't that big. Like I was done with construction, I've seen it all. And then I said, well, I always wanted to study medicine, and I am so glad I never was accepted in the university to study medicine, because otherwise, who knows who I've been? I would have been this pharmaceutical pusher. And it's something that, well, it doesn't resonate with me. So if I go to a doctor before I mostly do my own thing, they give me medicine, and most of the time I just don't take it. I find an alternative. And in the older days, it was like I go okay, what do the essential oils do? I can use this, and I try to treat myself. So yeah, the transition wasn't that big for me, but I can imagine that for some people it really is. There are a lot of people that cannot see that something natural can be as effective as the one that they think effective. So yes, I do love doing this.
Bankie, your mic is muted.
Your mic is muted, Bankie.
I was saying, I was going back to Doc and asked him, it seemed like everything revolves around eating. So how should one really eat? Type of food one consume, type of foods, type of juice, how should consume live healthy, holistic life and eliminate a lot of these parasite cases. Like everything is from started in the gut. As you see, you take the blood and you test and looking for parasites and stuff like that. So how should one really eat? Guide one how to should eat, because that many of us don't know how to eat. So coming from you, how should one eat?
Well, that's a huge question because there are different factors involved. One is you have to look back from the standpoint of evolution, okay? And I very much follow the Bible, all right? And I also don't like to put a beat down on other medical doctors. They do the best they can because, you know, drugs can be good because they can save lives. I don't have any problem with drugs, personally. They just should be used judiciously and not for everything that seems to have an ache or a pain. But how someone should eat, you have to look back at their heredity, their ethnicity, the region from where their ancestors came from, because those were the indigenous microbes that were in the soil of the food that they ate. So we kind of have a joke in nutrition, and that is, if you took an Irishman who, you know, was raised on fish and beer and, barley, and stuck him in India and fed him white rice, he'd die. But if you took an Indian who was raised on white rice and ghee and fruit and took him to Ireland and fed him fish and beer and barley, you'd kill him, right? His body couldn't adapt because it's not metabolically adjusted to that kind of foodstuffs. So, diet can be an individualistic thing. And for some people, they do very well being vegan. And there's some people that don't do well at it at all. And so we can't, there is no one size that fits all, so to speak. But what one type of diet does fit all, and that's called hygiene and cleanliness. So how the food is
True.
grown, how it's prepared, uh, how it's cooked, all of this contributes to the ingestion and the digestion of the food that then in turn turns into bacteria into the small intestine and the large intestine and creates a whole nother garden. But it's not the Garden of Eden, you know, it can be the garden of death. And unfortunately it is for most people. So you feed these putrefactive bacteria in your gut and they secrete these poisons into your blood that constantly saturate your system. And wherever your hereditary weakness began from childhood, that breaks down usually first. So for some people, it might be arthritis. For other people, it might be cluster headaches. For another person, it might be ocular disease and glaucoma. Everybody has a weak link. So the weak link is the first one to suffer. Does that all make sense?
Make plenty sense. Yahsonn, any question? Any comments you need to read out there before we continue? Any comments?
In terms of the comments, we've got Spileflix asking, what is the common parasite do you encounter in patients? What can we do about the parasites? And then he also asks, how does one apply to the school? And opinions on the eat right for your blood type. Okay, so those are the questions, just typical questions. So I guess folks are listening and they're having questions along the way. So the first question is, what is the common parasite you encounter in patients? What can you do about parasites? And then how do one apply for the school, I guess for your school or your clinic? And your opinions on the eat right for your blood type. You know, there's that philosophy where you eat according to your blood type. If you your opinions on that philosophy.
You want to start there first?
Your choice. You can do that. Yes.
On the blood type, most of us old school naturopaths gave up on that a long time ago. It doesn't work. Okay, we don't follow it. We kind of know the inside story about the doctor that started that, and it was a marketing ploy. He made a lot of money at it. But when you start to apply it clinically to a broad spectrum of patients, you just don't see the results that you would like to see. The more important thing, which is actually easier to look at, believe it or not, is the body's pH. The acid-alkali balance of the urine, the acid-alkali balance of the saliva, and there's a whole system of diagnosis that extends from that. But by and large, that is really that's just as solid a diagnostic procedure as is looking at the blood sugar. The blood sugar is either going to be high or low, or it's going to be normal. And the pH is either going to be acid or alkaline, or it's going to be normal. And the alkaline balance of the body actually gives you an indication as to what kind of foods the patient's eating and how well or how poorly they're digesting them. So that's number one. Okay. Number two, you asked about the
Okay. Number two. Let's see. How to apply it to your school.
how to apply to the school. You can send me an email, which is Pan Institute, PANAM Institute, all one word, at sisterisles.kn. You can also go to smoch.org, or you can go to panamuniversity.org. Those are different websites that you can go to, and we'll take the discussion from there. And then you want to know what the most common parasite is.
Yes, the most common parasites.
There is no common parasite. There's a wide spectrum of parasites. And when you say parasites to people, they think worms. Well, worms are the easiest thing to get rid of. Worms are not the problem. Okay?
Right.
The worms are only there because other parasites have been inhabiting and living in your body for a very long time. So I like to use the old story about roadside. You know, a dog gets hit by a car on the side of the road. It crawls into a ditch, and it goes through the process of the dog leaves its body, and the body's left in the ditch. Well, what's the first thing to happen to the dog? Well, first, it's the bacteria in the bowels will start to ferment and produce gases, and the belly swells up, right? That's the first stage. The second stage is, as the belly swells up and the tissue rots, now come the worms, and now come the bacteria, and now come the flies, the larvae, the maggots, and everything else. So the real nidus of death in any animal body, as well as in plants, starts with bacteria. It's always bacteria. But it's not the bacteria that you're taught in medical school. The bacteria you're taught in medical school is only the result of bodily abuse that has made itself evident in what's called pathogenic bacteria. And those really, in the beginning stages of disease, are not the problem. They're the outcome of a long-term problem that started in the gut to begin with. So the real story about what's the most common parasite you see, the most common parasite you see in a microscope is bacteria of all sorts and all varieties. And the thing about bacteria is they're not monomorphic. They're mutating all the time, just as much as they mutate in the soil. Those bacteria are also mutating in your gut 24/7. It's a whole different philosophy. And this occurred in medicine in the late 1800s. There was two big schools of bacteriology that were in development. Pasteur was the one that won. That was the monomorphic school that, you know, the bacteria that are pathogenic are Streptococcus and Staphylococcus and diphtheria, and, you know, and that became the boogeyman of medicine. So every disease in every corner of the body was going to be some type of pathogenic bacteria. And they weren't paying attention to the most important fact that the bacteria are actually your friend. And they come from the soil and the food that you grow. So the number of healthy bacteria drastically outweigh the pathogenic bacteria. And when you allow the healthy bacteria to wane in its activity, that's when the pathogenic bacteria gain an ascendancy and become parasitic. And at that stage, you may need an antibiotic to save your life because they're multiplying so fast, and the poisons they put out, it can do what bacteria do best on Earth. They take back that which is hers. They kill you. It's a part of nature. That's how life works. If that all makes sense. I don't.
Okay, Doc, can you go over with the email and the website? People were saying it was not very clear. Can you go over the website and the email again, please? Yes, so we're going to have to put that up on this and in the chat so people can go back and get that information, because people are very interested in that information, get in contact with Doc and so forth. So can you go over that for me again, please, Doc?
Sure, Bankie. Pan-Am, P-A-N-A-M, as in Pan American, Pan-Am University, all one word, .org. And we have an alternate Spanish site, .info, because we have a large group of students in South America as well. So panamuniversity.org or panamuniversity.info. And my other organization that I work with is called SMOCH, SMOCH.org.
Okay. I also have a question for you, Doc. How can B17 apricot seeds add in helping someone who has gone through chemo for breast cancer and they have clear lymph nodes?
Okay, B17 is a very interesting so-called vitamin. It's actually not a vitamin. It was mislabeled as a vitamin. It's actually the extract of apricot roots. Amygdalin is one of the biochemical constituents of the apricot. And it is basically an antibiotic, believe it or not. All right. And a lot of people are confused about what antibiotic means, and let me explain. All animal bodies on planet Earth are constantly at odds with the bacterial world. It's in the soil, it's in the air, it's everywhere. So what a plant does to grow, it secretes resins and secretes oils and chemicals from its sap and from its phylum and from its roots. And that protects it and allows it to grow in soil, which is actually thriving with bacteria. So it's a protective aspect of the plant. And those are technically antibiotics. They're called basically plant secondary metabolites. They don't have any use in the metabolism of the plant itself. They're secreted by the plant to protect the plant so it can grow in soil and thrive. When we eat plants, we ingest those same chemicals, and we have evolved and grown with those chemicals. So they act to preserve us as well. So they act as antibiotics. And that is a large aspect of herbal medicine. So when I teach herbal medicine, I don't teach just the metabolic aspect of herbs, so to speak, which is looking at herbs as substituting for a drug. The herbs have preservation principles. They preserve our bodies. They're natural to us. And those are what fight bacteria and fight viruses and fight parasites in the body. So when you learn herbal medicine as a philosophy, a natural side effect of herbal medicine are these antibiotic type principles. We don't have to worry about them. We don't have to memorize these complicated antibacterial this and antibacterial that like normal medical doctors do. If we choose the herb proper for the patient, that's a given that will act. As the Bible says, for the medicine you shall have your leaves. Well, that's what it was talking about. The leaf is the medicine because it's nature. So that's the way we teach herbal medicine, right, Akiesha?
Doc,
You are very right, Doc.
yes. While we're at cancer and this question about breast cancer, what about prostate cancer in men? Can it seem like it's getting more and more information and these where you have these annual prostate checks over and over, and you seem to have more and more men. So how is that done? Is it how it's done this way? Is there other way of testing for prostate? How is this done, and how should it goes back again to eating? Yeah, so let's talk about prostate.
Prostate's difficult to treat because it's an organ that has poor circulation in the pelvic floor. And the unusual thing about the male anatomy is as you grow old, most organs wane. They get smaller in size. The prostate's the only exception. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So based upon the physiognomy of the patient and the hormone balance, the lifestyle, and the foods they're eating, prostate's either going to get a little hard as the patient gets older, or it's going to get hard, and it's going to secrete a lot of enzyme called PSA, prostate-specific antigen, and that's what goes up in the blood. So as the gland swells, more of that product is put into the blood, and that's how it becomes a marker for cancer. It's really not a cancer product in the body. It's just an indicator that the gland is swelling. Does that help?
Okay. Akiesha, listening. Akiesha, Chris, this is a question for you, and then I guess I'll ask Chris the next question. Since you're talking about parasites, how often do you recommend should one box their body from parasite? I'm not sure if you have to. How does that work when it comes to controlling parasites and when you're eating and stuff like that?
Okay, controlling parasites. Well, it boils down to what you eat. As Doc mentioned, I would suggest persons to not overconsume on starches, carbohydrates, because we Caribbean people tend to love our rice. We love bread.
The simple carbs are complex carbs. Which one they should not and if are both?
It depends, because if you're consuming a lot of white potato over and over and over in large quantity, then that's still not good for you. But back to what I was trying to explain, we overconsume on those things. If we could limit that, drink herbal teas. There are a lot of teas that can decrease the amount of bacteria, yeast, parasites that are within you. You can also take an anti-parasitical. You can also make sure that there's so many things that goes into it, because then you have to look at your personal hygiene, the cleaning and taking care of your mouth and the teeth, the dental aspect of it. It goes on a very large and sometimes a long list. But simple things: watch what you eat. Eat a lot of culture food, fermented food, to get those good bacteria into the gut and feed those good bacterias. Less chicken, less meats that are known to have antibiotics, the animals that are treated with antibiotics. And the best thing you could do is eat organic, because eating organic definitely helps to fight off the pathogens, and manage ways to deal with your stress levels. That could also help a person. And I think persons should have a cleanse at least every month.
Okay, Dr. Julian, what I know Akiesha just mentioned have a cleanse once every month. I'm not what would be you recommend that would be used to have these cleanse when it comes to parasites and all this different stuff?
Okay, you can do several things, and a cleanse is not necessarily killing parasites, but you can kill the parasites and then do a cleanse because you need to get them out. Cleaning, you can do it with teas. You can find there are certain herbs that you can use to clean your body. Another thing to clean your body is a water fast or a veggie juice fast. You can do that for approximately 3 days. That will be good. And those are the main things. Yeah, you can use pills to get it out. I mean, let's be honest, there are pills for everything. So, but I would go with herbs, teas, or the juices. Or you can just do plain water. A water fast will help the body get rid of a lot. And take that for 3 days, and you will feel so much better. But if you want to kill the parasites, you can. We have teas, we have herbs that kill parasites. You have pills like ivermectin that kills parasites, and quassia. Quassia is one of the softest ones, the smoothest ones you can use. You have you can have like tinctures that they have like from herbs that you can use to kill parasites. So there are different ways that you can do it.
Okay, beautiful. This next question is someone asked this question. Chris, I'm not sure if you can answer this question. If not, Doc can step in. Can high blood pressure be cured?
Well, that can help me with it, but personally, I mean, your body is so amazing, anything can be cured. Because as Akiesha said, as Doc said, as Julia said, it all boils down to your diet. It all boils down to the food you consume, whether the food is attributing to your high blood pressure in a positive or a negative way. So this is something that you have to look at first. Look at what time you're eating, because I've heard of some people that they had this and they started fasting, and as they started to fast, then the body starts to actually heals itself. Not a fast as in a full day fast, but some people can start intermediate fasting. So you cut out your breakfast with your fatty eggs and bacon and your dairy as your cheese and your milk that spike your blood levels first thing in the morning. So you try to cut those out and you go on a water fast, as Julian said, or even if you want to add healthy sugars to your diet, as in healthy H3Os, which is in fruits. So you start eating your fruits, as in your apples, your oranges, your cucumbers, watermelon, and those can help give your body the reset that it can now fight any disease. I think that can help me with the question if I'm going on the right path.
Well, principle number one, I heard your all's explanations, and I'm happy for everything you're learning. Let's take two positions. The pivot to your whole bodily health, believe it or not, is your stomach, because your stomach produces a mineral acid called hydrochloric acid. It's the only non-organic substance your body makes, and it's your firewall. And if that hydrochloric acid in your stomach is preserved and is working, the chance of you getting parasites in your gut is pretty rare. Unfortunately, people overeat, and they also have developed this habit of mixing too much starches and protein at meals at the same time, and therefore it confuses the digestive enzymes of the body, and basically food products will go down into the small intestine undigested. And once that happens, the army that takes over after that are called putrefact bacteria. They will digest it for you. But unfortunately, their byproducts, or what I call bacterial excrements, are poisons. They're putrefactive. They also stink, okay? They put off sulfurous gases. They're very, very toxic to the human body. And people are producing them. We all produce very small amounts of them all day long. But when you start feeding your body wrongly with too much of this commercial food and too many of these bad habits you developed of consuming high amounts of starches, like Akiesha said, and then mixing it with high protein, like Kentucky Fried Chicken and barbecue and sauce and drinks and cold beer and ice cream and cappuccino, and you throw all that into the gut. The only thing that's going to survive after all of that is parasites. That's number one. Now, on hypertension, there's a classic rule of nature cure, and that is hypertension is extremely rare in vegetarians. It's relatively rare in vegetarians. Vegans eat a diet much higher in potassium and magnesium and calcium salts. Their arteries are more supple. Their heart is more supple. The blood vessels don't shrink and contract and become hardened, which drives up the blood pressure. And also, vegetarians have clearer thinking than people that eat meat, because people that eat lots of meat have lots of poison circulating in their blood, and it drives them into stress. It drives them into anxiety. It makes you go crazy. So when you're vegan, your mind is clearer. You drink more pure water. You're at peace with yourself. You have less stimulus to cause high blood pressure. That's my belief. So if you have high blood pressure and you want to be cured, go vegetarian for 30 days. You'll be relatively amazed what starts to happen to your high blood pressure.
You're saying some serious things here, telling people to be vegan. I mean, I don't want you to say people to jump off the roof and go out into this water, still they can walk on water, because telling people these things can be very complicated. Because we live in a society where people love their meat, the meat source, and all this different stuff. But there's a call coming in. Let me take this call.
Sure.
Bankie, your mic mute. Your mic is muted. Yeah, we're not hearing you, Bankie. Not hearing you. If the caller is on, we're not hearing you. We're not hearing the caller. But in the meantime, Doc, as Bankie gets that sorted out, right? As you were making your presentation a little bit further back, there were a couple of things that I wanted to question you on or get some clarification on, because of some of my personal philosophies and some theories that I would have heard of prior as well. So there was a point where you spoke to the pH. You were using it as an example for something else, but there is the philosophy of the alkaline diet versus the acidic diet, and this is a theory that was popularized by Dr. Sebi, and it is a highly popular view that is taken. What is your stance or position on that? Do you accept or believe that there's some merit to that philosophy?
It's quite correct. It's quite correct. Back in the early days, in the 60s and 70s, we grew up with what was called macrobiotics. That became the big thing. And macrobiotic cooking is very vegan. It's basically the philosophy of eating an equal amount of grain and equal amount of beans, which gets your right balance of amino acids and your protein, and then also eating an assortment of vegetables, and then 10 to 15% amount of fresh fruit as a balance. And I have to say, down through the years, people that ate that kind of diet, I know many of them still today, because Lino Stancic, which is one of the great macrobiotic followers, he was teaching in Miami Beach, where I was practicing at one point, and we became friends. And we both agreed that the people we see that have maintained that diet for a good portion of their life remain relatively healthy. They don't have high cholesterol, they don't have diabetes, they don't have high blood pressure, they're more energetic, they're more thriving. And that movement actually spawned the next movement out, which was the acid alkaline balance approach to things. And it's quite correct, okay? But again, it has to be individualistic for the person, and the easiest way to monitor that is with pH paper, looking at the pH of your urine and looking at the pH of your saliva. And that tells you how well you're keeping yourself in balance, because you can overdo too many alkaline foods. You can make yourself too alkaline. So at some point you do have to get a small amount of acid-forming foods in your diet to maintain balance, which mostly comes in the form of grains and beans, and small amounts, if you care to, of animal proteins.
Okay, let's make sure that Bankie is back on here. So Bankie, let's see if you got your audio sorted out. Are you with us? No, still not hearing you. So we still don't have Bankie with us. So Bankie still has to get his technical thing sorted out on that side. Okay, so you answered that question. Now, as we continued, I as I listen to you, you remind me of another doctor that I would have been listening to in relation to the gut issue. I think it's Dr. Gundry, I think his name is. He speaks very much of that, yeah. that gut theory. And so as I heard you spoke about the bacterias and those that are good. So there's the good gut bacteria, and you also alluded to where we get those good gut bacteria from, and you pointed out that we get them mainly from the foods that are grown locally from the soil. That's where we get a lot of these good gut bacteria. You also pointed out that the problems that we have, because you said bacteria are all over, and I guess I'm a good learner as well, so I am trying to summarize some of what you said, that the bacteria are all over and would be all over our bodies, but the trick or the challenge is to be able to have more of those good gut bacteria so that it kind of outweigh the other not so good bacteria that would be there anyway. So it's sort of like, and I guess that's when you use the example of the pH. I think that's when you use the example of the pH to highlight that aspect, right? Okay, now
Yep.
There's this other theory that I would like a little bit of clarification on. And so I guess since we have the doc here, I would want to get some clarity where that is concerned. There is this theory that we are made of cells, and our bodies, like the cells in our bodies, regenerate every 35 days. And so technically, if we are what we eat, and what we eat is what make our cells, then as you mentioned, it comes back to our diet. So then you can technically cure or heal yourself to some extent based on what you eat, if you're supposed to make that shift and maybe adhere to it and stick to it for at least that 35 days for you to get those new cells that would represent or should take away those bad cells that you would have had. How do you subscribe to that theory?
It's relatively true. It's more than 35 days. For example, this is what we teach as part of cell biology living. All right. If you look at skin, for example, normal human skin basically regenerates from the inside out in about 30 days. Unless you become an old guy like me, it might be as long as 60. But relatively speaking, you get a cut on your skin, and it'll scab, and then you watch it day after day, and ultimately the scab falls off and new skin regenerates from the ground up, so to speak, and just everything disappears and you're back to normal in 30 days, for example. Liver is longer. Liver can take more than 6 months for all of the cells of the liver to regenerate. The intestines is only 24, 48 hours because the cells, as they're exposed to bacteria and food, their turnover rate is very rapid. They're the most rapid in the body. In fact, the most rapidly regenerating cells in the human body is the oral cavity, the mouth. You know, you can cut your gum on eating like a nut or a peel or something, and that thing will seal up and be gone within 10 or 12 hours. It'll seal itself up and be gone. You can get a tooth extracted and put a ball of cotton on it after the tooth is pulled out, and by the end of the day, you're okay because everything, the skin and the mucosa in the mouth is regenerating so rapidly. Brain tissue, however, and nerves take a very long time to turn over and regenerate. So it kind of depends upon which group of tissue that you're talking about. But certainly in 30 days, which is one lunar cycle, if you were to radically change your diet and say, for example, go on an alkaline diet or a macrobiotic diet or just fast for 30 days, you know, like the saints did, like Jesus and Muhammad, they went to the desert, they fasted. You don't come out of the desert the same again. You will start to enter a spiritual state as your body becomes and your mind gets so clear and your nerves don't have any more irritation on them, and et cetera, et cetera.
Well, thank you very much.
Can you guys hear me, Yahsonn?
Yes,
no, we
hear you. Yes.
I guess, I mean, the overcast, the internet acting up from time to time, you know how it is here. But Doc, I have some more questions for both of you doctors here. I know you spoke about parasites and stuff like, and detoxing. What can these herbs be found naturally in the environment, and what are some of the herbs you can use for detoxing and parasites, or they have to the clinic to get this type of herbs?
No, the herbs are everywhere. There's herbs when you walk to your car. You're walking past herbs that could potentially heal you. They're everywhere. The challenge is knowing which ones do what. However, we've learned in herbalism and naturopathy that there are some herbs that are just real good at what they do. You mentioned B17, for example. That
Yes.
apricot kernel, that's one particular herb that's real good at what it does because it has a very dramatic long-term history of curing cancer. And we are in touch with John Richardson, whose father was the one that started the B17 movement in the United States, was radically attacked, damn near murdered by the pharmaceutical industry as a result of the work that he did. And thanks to him and the clinical work and proving of using that herb, we could say if there ever, there's a small amount of herbs on planet Earth that we just call ubiquitous healers. Amygdalin or the apricot pit is one of those herbs. You could say the same thing about dong quai, about ginseng, ashwagandha, licorice root. There's these great, great herbs of planet Earth that have really stupendous properties that have regenerative effects. Laetrile is one of those because it attacks bacteria inside the cell, which is where the cancer starts. The cancer doesn't start in the gut. Okay, the environment for the body is started in the gut, but the actual cancer itself is an intracellular event. It's a microbe that gets into the cell and multiplies, and it's pathogenic, and its byproducts are very poisonous and toxic. and it makes the cell go acid. Okay, it makes the cell produce lactic acid. And amygdalin is one of those compounds in herb, which, you know, amygdalin's also in apple seeds, it's in many vegetables, but it's in very small amounts. In the apricot pit, it's one place where it's in very high concentration, and it's truly one of the great herbs on planet Earth, I believe, which is, of course, part of the Hunza culture, which is why it was so long and is so long-lived. Because the Hunza people eat apricot pits in their jams, in their jelly as a snack, a tabletop snack. They consume very large amounts of apricot pits, and as a result have an extremely low incidence of cancer.
Okay, beautiful. Yahsonn, is any more question there? Also, Doc, there's a question, any one of you doctors, what is recommended for shrinking kidney stones?
There's lots of herbs for kidney stones. It has to be treated in a two-prong approach because the stone itself is generally set off in motion by an infection in the kidney. That causes the weakening of the kidney wall and the collection of calcium oxalates that's sequestered from the urine and makes the crystal. So the long-term treatment of kidney stones is to clean the kidneys and get the infection out of the kidney wall. The short-term treatment is you've got to bust up the stone. So in herbal medicine, we have many herbs that have stone-busting properties. Hydrangea is one. Herba desmodii, which is a Chinese herb, is very famous for that effect. There's if you just look up on the internet, kidney stone herbs, there's probably 100 of them worldwide that have very good effects. So the secret there is to drink enough of the herbal tea to wash the stone out, and hopefully it doesn't fall down your ureter and has to work its way through your urethra, which is a very painful process, but it's also a very natural process. And if somebody teaches you that that's the punishment for not drinking enough water, that will do it. An experience of passing a kidney stone will certainly get people drinking enough water the rest of their life. I treated it many, many times.
Okay, I know earlier you mentioned the apricot. Is there any other thing else? Detoxin and parasites?
Oh, there's lots of herbs. There are many stones that there's many herbs that treat parasites as there are ones that treat kidney stones.
Okay.
Again, it depends upon the type of parasite that you want to attack, more or less, and secondly, the potency of the herb and what the herb products contain. But as a general rule, you could basically say all your spices, you know, attack these parasites. Your ginger, your turmeric, your rosemary, your basil, all of these herbs are anti-parasitic.
Oregano, Doc.
And they're very effective in their work, and they should be eaten every day. If you want to, when you become educated on parasitology and understand the whole principle of it, you basically tailor your diet.
I have a call coming in.
Yes, sir.
Call,
Yeah, good evening to you, guests. Good evening to Yahsonn as well. Is there any way I can have like a mini segue? And if so, the segue, the question I'm going to come up with this segue is sickle cell anemia. Why is this only a quote-unquote black people's disease? And where did this disease originate? And why are we not seeing any lectures and stuff like that, educating public and neighbors about this disease? Because this disease is a cancerous disease. It's under the cancer umbrella. And because of the fact that this only affects black people per se, and we have a concentration of black population in St. Stephen's. Why are we not pushing the education for this particular disease? Does any one of these guests do any outreach in the community or in the schools to talk about this disease? That's the topic or segment I would like to
All right, no problem.
really.
All right, thanks for the call, caller.
And Bankie, and before I get off, really, is there herbal medicine? Is there any way to cure this disease herbally? And I'll leave it there for now.
All right, thanks. Also, that before you answer the question there, before you get into the question, I know someone was asking, do you have open clinics? You can recommend to have open clinics to the general public where you can do common test when it comes to disease, like how you're doing when you're talking about I guess the parasite checks randomly, open clinic to the general public where you can have people come in, and I'm not sure how you'll go about doing that. But that was one of the question before.
Well, we haven't been set up for that as yet.
Okay.
All patients, I check, obviously I check for parasites because it's such a big part of the problem of patients. So when patients come to see me, we check everything. We do a urinalysis, we take the blood sugar, we take the blood pressure, we take the uric acid, the level, the alkaline balance level, and we put all that into a holistic approach to what the patient's particular problem is at the time that we see them. So that's the answer to that question. And we look at everybody's blood under a microscope, and we use that as an education process for the patient too, because we show the patient what we're seeing in the microscope. And the microscope we have is not the one with the two little ocular eyes. We have big screen TV. We put your blood up on a big screen TV, and you get to see these guys swimming around. So it's a whole world. The technology has dramatically changed in the last 5 or 10 years with the sensitivity of microscopic cameras. We can see things in blood that we couldn't see even 5 years ago. Amazing things. It's a whole other world of microbiology that regular medicine has no idea.
We're still on the sickle cell as the sickle cell.
Now the sickle cell, I'll tell you my theory of sickle cell. Okay, there was a Dr. Weber in Germany that spent, and he was a medical doctor. He spent the last days of his life and career on the examination of malaria, indigenous endogenous malaria that is transmitted hereditarily from mother, father to fetus, okay? And he became convinced that the principal core cause of most malignancy is malaria. Now, malaria, of course, is indigenous to Africa, and it would appear that this is a disease that afflicted a core population at the early time of Earth's evolution and spread through a population basis. And the only thing we know is that, and I've had many sickle cell patients, that keep sickle cell people alive beyond the normal life expectancy of 25 or 30 years is to take a good round and a daily round of herbal medications to keep these parasites at bay. And they do a lot better, and they don't have the health crises of sickle cell. But I can't say I've come or know of the cause of the disease at this stage. That could be a clinical specialty for someone.
You know,
It has
Doc.
been.
You know, Doc.
Yes. Any question there, Yahsonn, on the YouTube and Facebook?
Well, we got somebody asking what can we use for poor circulation in the feet. Somebody is asking What foods can we consistently eat to maintain an alkaline state in our body? Um, and somebody asked, why do we get big belly? Is there any connection to our gut or intestine being needing a purge? Those are the three questions that I'm seeing there. But while you get prepared to answer that as well, I wanna put this in because I realize that we are almost on the 2 hour um, juncture, and there's so much more that we can still delve into, and we didn't even get to hear much from the others. We were just so caught up with the doc here. But I wanna find out, Doc, in you answering and responding to those questions. So I'll probably ask them again if you don't remember. But what are your what is your position in the use of cannabis in your practice? And if because it's one of the herbs, it's now decriminalized here in St. Kitts and Nevis. I don't know if it was used in the past. I know the serious ramifications that we would have had over the years with it. Um, what are your thoughts on it, and if you would incorporate it in any way in your practice, or if it is utilized in your practice?
No, I don't use it. I was exposed to it many years back when it was basically technically illegal to import it. So I just didn't use it in my practice. Obviously, it's one plant that has a lot of good properties. My colleagues speak about it all the time. They're using cannabinoids for pain control and various conditions. I think it's wonderful, but it's not an herb that I specialize in. Um, there are so many herbs that one can specialize in. What I recently got exposed to was the use of vitamin B17 Laetrile, and we just imported a kilo of the uh, peach pit extracts, and we have it available in the store now in capsules. It's something I'm taking every day. I think that's one. There's certain kind of herbs that you learn about that you come to the conclusion this is probably something I should be taking practically every day. And B17 Laetrile is one of those. There's other ones too. There's ginger, there's ginseng, there's dong quai, there's a litany of different herbs, and you kind of gravitate to the one that you feel best suited for your condition or your temperament. But I think in
Yes,
today's
Yahsonn, any more
world,
question there?
Yeah, so I'll go back to the questions that were on the wall. Someone asked, what can we use for poor circulation of the feet? So let's probably do them one by one. What can person use for poor circulation in the feet?
well, walking, of course, is one of them, walking and breathing. Second to that, there's a large group of herbs we call stimulants, which are not in the sense of a pharmaceutical word we say stimulant like amphetamine. Stimulant, we mean herbs that help propel the blood through the arteries. So for poor circulation in the feet, we use herbs like prickly ash, vervain, schisandra, skullcap. There's all kinds of herbs we can use to propel blood through the veins. But overall, just drink herbal teas and you'll be helping a lot.
Okay, now this question wasn't on the wall, but it's a question that I wanted to ask, and the fact that you just spoke of certain herbs, is going to cause me to ask it now before I forget. In terms of the herbs that you use for your products, do you consider having folks cultivating them here, if they could be grown here, or you prefer to continue to just import the extract? Because I'm asking this from an agricultural perspective, because I guess it's also agriculture, and I'm seeing where if you are making the products here and we could get folks growing the various herbs that you may need for the products, then you could have a business, or at least create a market for products that are produced that were probably never even considered growing. Like, for example, I just heard you mention vervain, for example. Vervain grows here, but it grows wild. It's not like a cultivated crop. Now, if one or two farmers know that vervain is used at Jade and they use it in maybe creating a product or whatever it is, then you may be able to now create a market for a farmer who may choose to grow that to get into that industry.
I think we absolutely should. You know, Nevis, I would like to see to become a natural medical tourism island where people will come here and they not only see the practice itself, but the actual agriculture and agronomy that's behind it, where it's genuinely and truly holistic. Because obviously, the fresher the herb that is picked, the better the results you're going to get. So,
yes,
we should be growing all of our own herbs for the population at large. Everything we need is here. There's plenty of herbs that grow in Nevis. It's just understanding how to use them and for what condition.
I have
okay,
a question
so
here that also. The next question here, yes, I'm not sure if you miss it. So it was sent to me. Isn't the same antibiotics that is used to get rid of the bacteria also attribute to the presence of bacteria, or is it over the usage of antibiotics?
It's a combination of both. You know,
Okay.
penicillin was the great first antibiotic known to medicine, more or less. Penicillin is actually a mycotoxin grown on fungus. It's very effective in killing bacteria, but in overdose, it's also very toxic to the human frame. So in one way, it was a lifesaver, but it grew out of an industry that obviously marketed it and merchandised it and abused it to the point that we now have antibiotic resistance because nature has been violated.
There's a next question here. Yes.
I
Yeah,
don't
go
have any
ahead.
problem with antibiotics. They just should be used judiciously. They can save lives.
Okay. The next question here. What do you think about vaping and smoking of cannabis? Herbs, any herbs that is smoked, whether it's cannabis, cigarette, whatever it is.
What do I think of it personally?
But yes, the question was
Just
asked, yeah.
in general.
Yes.
I look upon it the same as Native American Indians. I think the act of smoking is a sacred and religious aspect that has to be taken into a safe space and sacred space of understanding, and anything can be overdone.
Okay.
I don't have a problem. It's just that's the way I see it. Should be a religious act. What I'm saying.
Beautiful.
I think.
Yahsonn?
okay, yes. So we had another question here. Does the doc or the Jade Clinic implement any local remedies in their practice? Is anyone local or foreign uses the local bush or fruits to make medicine? Okay, so we kind of answered that just a while ago, where we are saying that we are looking to be able to utilize local farmers eventually to grow the herbs that you would probably need to make whatever tinctures and different products that you would want to make. For the lady with the smoothie business, what's your favorite and most popular smoothie sold at your business? What is it good for? Also, are the smoothies natural? Does she use the fruits or vegetables from her farm? I guess those are specifically for you, Akiesha.
Yes, I use most of my fruits from the farm. They're all natural, real fruits. I even try to have strawberry grown on my farm. So all the food all of the fruits are natural. They're grown on my farm, most of them. The only ones that I probably can't get is like blueberries or raspberry. But I'm gonna try to find a way to grow that fruit tree on my farm because there's always a way. You just have to find the right conditions and the type of seed to go with my type of climate here on Nevis. Secondly, yeah, what was the other question?
Yahsonn. So like Yahsonn? So like
Okay.
Yahsonn paused for a while. Well, that the next question came up. Doc, is there any option recommendation opposing castor oil?
Castor oil is good. It's
Huh?
it absorbs toxin from the body. It's very effective for many conditions. Works very well.
Okay. Um,
Huh?
so another question we had here. Um,
So it's good to take toxin out the
why
body and
why
stuff.
do why do we get big bellies? And is there any connection to our gut or intestines being needing a purge?
Definitely, definitely. The big belly thing is two things. Of course, it's a slacking of the abdominal muscle. That sets the stage for it. But then the bloating that goes with it is, yes, they need a purge.
So
And the
yeah, go ahead. And the best way to
best purge for that is using antiparasiticals.
antiparasitical. Okay, so
Okay.
um, I am familiar with. Well, one of the reasons why you see I'm asking so many questions is because also myself I do have a lot of interest in this field, and it's something that I really believe in a lot. Um, for me, I would only resort to the doctor or the hospital if I have to, if I absolutely have to, or feel like I have to. I'm the kind of person who would want to, as much as possible, um, function from what I consider the preventative mindset versus the curative mindset. So, like we think about, like we spoke about that theory where I highlighted that our cells regenerate, or as you pointed out, though, not all, but many generate, let's say 30 days, 35 days, every 35 days. So if you focus on zooming on what you are putting in, then you should have an idea in terms of putting in your body. You should have an idea of how and what you're going to be in the next 30, um, 35, 35 days. There is that theory. I work along with this guy who practices natural healing and so on. But one of the things he pointed out is that the first phase is to detox. So he would create a concoction, so to speak, that would create that avenue for the patient or the client to quote unquote detoxify the body, take out whatever it is, the toxins and whatever it is that needs to be released. Then he begins prescribing now that which he would want to help to rebuild the cells and alkalinize the body and things like that. What's your thoughts on that process, so to speak?
That's essentially correct. First you detox, then you rebuild. Absolutely correct.
Okay. All right. Well, Banky, we are
Yes.
already over that
Yes.
2 hour
Let me.
period. Thing asked, and then we get
Yes. I
the
just.
to wrap up.
Well, I just want to get to Chris. I know he's into selling some products he mentioned earlier, so I want him to let the general public know what some of the products that he have available, and also how they can get in contact with him. And the same thing, Akiesha, I know she have a farm and her smoothie place, and how they can get in contact with her the same way. And the same thing with Doc, how people can reach him at his business and email that he can give out and all that same thing. So, Chris.
All right, thanks, Banky. Well, as you said, I sell a number of natural supplements. I
Yes.
do sell a Maca Plus that is very good for fertility. It is very good for ladies that's going through menopause, ladies that also suffer from menstrual pain. It helps to thin the layer in the uterus, so the pain isn't so severe during menstrual cycles. I also do ashwagandha, um, max detox. That's something that is one of my best sellers. The max detox it basically helps cleanse the gut. That's something that I recommend to anybody that's asking me. I can't sleep. What can I take for cleaning out my stomach, cleaning out my system? I always recommend the max detox. And I have a number of other supplements that I sell, so you can contact me at 762-9776. That's 762-9776. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at serenityallnatural.com. You can also check our website, www.serenityallnatural.com, and you will see all of our products.
Okay, Akiesha.
Yes. In addition to selling the smoothies, I have a 2-acre farm, which I am. I currently have watermelon, okras, bananas. The variety of banana I have is blue java. They're very excellent in smoothies and making delicious pancakes. I also have coming within probably 1.5 months sorrel and cantaloupe. If you want any of the fruits, I also deliver. My number is 668-4926. In terms of the smoothie bar, I am open Tuesdays to Saturday, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. But because the sun is going down a bit earlier around this season, I close at 5:30. And that's my info.
All right, beautiful. Doc, students, it's a pleasure having you guys here. I mean, it's a wealth of information as we realize the questions them just keep coming and coming and coming, and recommendations and different stuff like that. So hopefully this ain't the last conversation we have in here, and in the near future we can get you guys back and continue the discussion, because it's a wealth of information and people interest when it comes to health and realizing this the main issue is eating. Some may say diet, and definitely people are taking notes, and definitely you'll get some more additional patients add to the 7,000 that you have. We might go to the next 7,000 because they are really in tune. So I want to really thank you for you guys for coming and being here. I'm well educated and definitely that. So going on the table, any last words you want, recommendation you want to give to the listening audience? And then we go across to the other doctor, Julian, and then coming to Akiesha and Chris. Let me start off with you, Dr. McWilliams.
Well, I'm honored to be on your show, Bankie and Yahsonn. Thank you very much for inviting me. I've had a wonderful time speaking at a topic that, of course, is the love of my heart and my complete career path since I've been little. And for those of you that want to engage, I can only warn you, I'm sure Akiesha and Julie and Criss will tell you, I am a deep dive. Okay, I'm very passionate about my subject. But you can go to panamuniversity.org, panamuniversity.info. You can call the clinic here, 869-469-9564, and put you in touch with that. That's 869-469-9564. And we practice on Wednesdays and Saturdays during the week. And I look forward to coming back and being with you all for another session in the near future.
Is there email, Doc? Is there email?
Yes, it's Panam, P-A-N-A-M, int, I-N-T, int at sisterisles.kn.
Okay, beautiful. Dr. Julian?
It was a pleasure being here, and I enjoyed it. My heart is buried in Nevis, so yes, this island is one of the best that I encountered. And what can I give you? I would say clean your body, keep your body clean. That's the only thing I can say. Have a nice evening.
Akiesha, your last for any young ladies, any young men listening, and how to take care of themselves?
Yes, I just want to say thank you for having us, first of all, and to all of the young persons that are out there, please come and get a checkup. I know that there are a lot of things that are happening right now in the world, and you might be confused about what to eat. We can help to guide you, and a lot of us are suffering from whatever skin disease or even constipation. We can definitely help to give you a cleanse to release that muck that is in your colon. And I want there to be this trend that being healthy is good, because a lot of us we're into the chemical aspect of things, whether it's putting it in our face or eating processed foods, and we don't have to go down that road. We don't have to go down that road at all. We must understand that our body is a temple and treat it as that. So please come on to the Jade Clinic Wednesdays, Saturdays, once Doc is here, and get a checkup and, start to feel good about yourself. Walk around knowing that, yes, I'm doing something that is contributing to my health in the right direction instead of it going on a downfall.
Beautiful. Criss?
Yes, I will also like to encourage everybody to come over and get a checkup and, see what's going on inside of your body. Because we have a saying that your body tells you what's wrong with it. So most people know what's wrong with their body, but to come and to get a checkup and to actually see what's going on, it's better than guessing. And then, you can take the necessary steps from there to start healing and living a more positive and uplifting life. Because, as Doc said, the healing starts in the gut, it starts in what you eat. So I'm encouraging everybody to start cleaning up your diet. Start small incremental changes where you can say, okay, I'm going to cut out the bread for a week. I'm going to cut out the chicken for a week. I'm going to cut out the pork for a week. And then you monitor your body and see, how does this make me feel? And then you continue from there, and then you realize that you don't get the headaches no more. You're starting to sleep better. So I'm just encouraging everybody to clean up your diet, start eating organic foods, start drinking more water, start hydrating, start meditating, because it's not only with your body, it's with your mind as well. You start meditating, start taking nature walk, all of these little things add up into making your health so much better. So again, I will encourage you, please, anybody that's listening, to come over to the clinic, get tested, get checked, whatever your illness is. I think Doc can find it. Well, I know Doc can find it.
All right, beautiful. Yahsonn, we're going to continue the conversation after the guests they leave for a little more, but we really appreciate you guys. We always take up much of your time. We don't want to keep you all back. I know you all have your family to take care of and even get some rest. And tomorrow, the clinic is open again, so it's back to work and stuff.
Clinic is
So
tomorrow.
greatly appreciate you guys coming on again. And also want to say kudos to your secretary who is there. What you mentioned, the lady name again, Chris, that you mentioned earlier? What's her name?
Sylvia.
Sylvie
The
Brooks.
clinic. Huh?
Sylvia.
Sylvia. Yes, we want to big up Sylvia, very beautiful, nice young lady. When I had her on the phone and stuff, so definitely want to big up Sylvia Doc and the other if anyone there is there at the clinic and stuff. So once again, thanks for being on the Everything Agriculture show, and definitely I'm gonna get in contact with the guys to come back on the show next time because it's just not enough time, and people are keep asking us questions, but looking forward for the next discussion in the near future. So Yahsonn, we will continue the conversation. So you guys can log out anytime you all free to log out. Yeah.
Bankie, I think the doc would have already made that clear for us, that he is open for us to welcome him back. And he didn't just say in the future, he said in the near future. I recorded his words. So most definitely, we will definitely be getting the doc back. And doc, I am really, really grateful that you accepted our invitation. The team, you, Dr. Julian, and your two understudies, I'm really, really proud of you guys. I'm proud of you that you guys are, seeking to be understudy for Jade and the organization and really taking what they consider alternative medicine, but I think it's the real medicine, to that level where it should go. And also proud of you as two young business people, aspiring, creating your products and putting yourself out there. Really, really, really proud of you guys, and I want to encourage you guys to continue to do just that and continue to be a success. Doc, both doctors, I'm really looking forward to having you guys back. And Doc, Sylvia is my cousin. She's my family. She's actually my family. And I am going to be your third Nivision understudy. So I'm putting my hands up.
Let me come in there, Yahsonn. Before that go, someone was asking about what are some of the alkaline foods that people can eat for their body.
Oh yes, I did ask a question. What are some of the alkaline foods that you can eat on a consistent?
Anyone can answer the question? Anyone can answer the question?
All of your fruits and vegetables are alkaline forming, some just more than others, but your fruits are the most alkaline as a rule, with the exception, of course, of citrus. And your vegetables are secondarily alkaline as a rule. So can't go wrong. Fruits and vegetables, that's what alkalizes. And it must be assisted with copious amounts of water. Water washes out the acid. Because remember, the body is an acid organism. We produce acid all day long. It has to be washed out.
Okay, beautiful. Guys, thanks again, and definitely see you soon.
God bless you all. A very lovely evening.
Right.
All right.
Okay, Yahsonn, we continue the conversation when the guests leave. So it's me and you, Yahsonn. So yes, ladies and gents, we just had a serious discussion when it comes to eating healthy and taking care of yourself. And we've been speaking about this for the last 5 and growing your food, pushing agriculture, using your medicine, your herbs as your medicine. And you've heard here first from Dr. Jade. Can't go wrong. Yahsonn is still we're on the right track all the time. And you hear what he mentioned about taking the vegan part, eating healthy, free your mind, you're much wiser, healthier, no stress, all this stuff. So which means you are what you eat. So if you're eating this type of animal and the animal is you act in the same way, and you hate from the man himself. Yes, and what do you think
Well,
about that?
well, that's the thing, Banky. I'm glad when we have the professionals like this who come and add some credence to what we would have been saying over the years. Um, you know, we stand Rastafari, so we are ridiculed and persecuted for all these years, and it's years now we have been telling them eat ital, done with
Yes, I.
cut out all this meat and go back to nature and so on. They say, oh, are you crazy? And I must eat goat. I just want to eat bush. I have goat. And all of these things that they tell us and so. But
Rabbit feed, yes, daddy. Rabbit feed, eat a rabbit food.
yeah, it's good when you could have the professionals now who they would look up to, come and
But we're
share and
professionals. But we're
confirm.
professionals, yes,
No,
I.
no, no. When I
We're
said, well, in some cases we don't have the alphabets and so in front and behind our names and so like some of these guys do, and like Dr. McWilliams, sorry,
Yes,
he is
McWilliams.
he's coming from both sides. He was trained as the top pharmaceutical doctor, so he was in that field, and then he switched.
Yes,
So he's able to
yes.
give you the experience. I mean, as to what they were doing over there, and why what he's offering now is a better alternative. And so he even adds more to the credence in the sense that when you go to talk to him, whatever your doctor would have probably told you, he will be able to explain to you, okay, well, that's what he said, and this is what we can do, and so on. Now, here's another point, Banky. Um, and I wanted to highlight this while we spoke. One of the things that's very challenging is that this kind of profession, it sometimes you don't get the kind of attention you should get because it's more or less like a last resort thing, like um um like selling some of the products that we sell. And I was going to say that to Chris and find out his challenges in terms of selling some of these products, because when it comes to preventative, a lot of people don't necessarily think of preventative like buying something that would they could use to help to prevent them from getting X, Y, or Z. They prefer to get X, Y, or Z and then seek to cure the problem. And so you find it's the same scenario like with the herbal doctors and herbal practitioners, are what they consider alternative practitioners. In a lot of cases, they get people when all all hopes are given up, where they would have tried all of the doctors and so on, and maybe the doctors decide, well, okay, nothing much else we can do for you, and that is when they get to that side. And so it's the same thing, like trying to sell somebody, like for example, I remember during the COVID era, here is it that they keep telling you that this thing is created by as a result of you having some effects on your immune system. Okay, your immune system is the system that is your defense mechanism. That's where you have your Bruce Lee and your Chuck Norris and your Sylvester Stallone and all of these guys in there to protect your body from all of these, whether it's bad bacteria or viruses or whatever it is. So if that's what your immune system does, then it should be in your best interest to seek to boost your immune system and eat the things or utilize the things that will boost your immune system to put your system in that position that if it is the COVID or whatever other viruses that are coming, your body would be in the best position to ward off or fight off or resist any such thing. But people wouldn't want to invest in that prevention. They would prefer to get something after. And so you find it's very tough marketing that, and it's very tough sometimes getting people to accept that you could use a plant, you could use some soursop leaves, or you could use some this, or you could use some that. And sometimes it's only last resort that people make use of these things. So I'm really happy that we were able to have them on the platform. And I'm also very happy that they are so much eager to come back to be with us, because there's a lot more things. And I'm sure that based on the feedback that I'm seeing here on the wall and so on, there were a lot of questions, there were a lot of comments, there were lots of interactions. And we're really, grateful for all of you who would have came on the platform and shared the link and shared the live and so on, and would have made your contributions on the platform, whether it's by calling in or by making your comments. Bankie, we would have wrapped up about 2.5 hours now, so we could wrap up the your last thoughts and so on, basically, with what we did and so forth.
Well, I think we got time. We go to 10 o'clock,
Okay.
We go to 10.
Okay, no problem.
We go to 10. Yeah, so I just want to big up the students, Akiesha, and also Criss. I'm very proud of them. As a youth, I know Jade been here for a very long time, since in the 90s, when going to high school and stuff like that, and still basically, as he said, he come here and he just love the place and move. And then you hear Dr. Julian saying the same thing. We are a very special place, and it's only the local and the natives supposed to really pay attention to where they live at and realize, as the doc say, even when I'm on the farm, you look around, blue all over the farm. The seed all over the farm, the dandelion, you understand, the Medina, the whitehead broom, everything is on the farm. Even in my yard, I go, they could just pick anything, is just right there. We tend to see weeds, but when I look at things, I see medicine. You see, this is different because you understand the plant, you see it. It's like today someone came there and they see the watercress. They say, "You sell them there?" I said, "Sell what?" He said, "Them there." They say, "We mean the watercress? So you want some?" Say, "Yeah, me want buy some." I said, "Man, just take the thing on them." Amazing, blow their mind. But something is wrong, systematically wrong with us as a people, my virgin. We love the pharmaceuticals and love. You see, the doctors them go away, as Dr. Jade did, but then he was inspired to take the traditional way, and his nature. That's why you see I have my farm where it's like a golf course, and how I set up Indian cars with all grass. Because you should be able to walk on your farm barefoot. Let your feet touch the grass, because you're part of it. We came from the earth, our main purpose, we have changed. I have been eating like this for over 32 years as a vegan. From since I was 17, I haven't eaten no alcohol. You understand? I'm just this is what I've been eating all the time. So this is what I know. So when you eat, you read. You know the purpose what you're eating for. All we're eating for is nutritional reason. That's all it is. For energy. The plant, you can only get your energy from two sources, whether it's plant-based or it's animal-based. It's your choice. You can do both, or you can choose one. Because people ask you, well, how you get your protein? Well, how you get your vitamin B and B? This is what you're talking about. The same thing around the giraffe, the cow, them everything one is so bigger than me. And you ask me how I get this mechanism? Because you're being programmed, you see, to think that way. Because anytime energy is transferred, energy is lost. So you want to eat the fish, you don't lose a set of energy, so you're losing plenty of nutrients. When you eat the bean and you eat the spinach and you eat the meringue, you're getting 100% nutrients. Because all you're eating for is just nutrients now. The tree extract, the root is extract all the minerals and everything and put it going up through it. The transport system, it farm the flower into the fruit. You eat the fruit. You eating the food will come out of the soil. That is the reality. You see? Then a bird come along, eat the same food, then you eat the bird. We just all coexisting. And you see how simply man put it? Food. If you ain't put it into your body, you can't get sick. That is just simple the man I try to show you. And so you go back again, water, 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 along with your fruits and vegetables. That's it. I'm 48 years old and I've been eating like this since I'm 17. I haven't changed how I've been eating. I don't have an issue as the doctor what people want to eat. That's their choices. Because everything in life is about choices. If you want to eat monkey, you want to eat snail, you want to eat cricket, me not gonna issue with that. You can sit down in front of me and eat it. You eat it, not me. You see what I mean? You are blessed to eat it is your choice. And I'm glad this story come to your blood type and all this different stuff. Nah. So I'm glad the doc say it too. You see, me and you not really have behind with name, but we have the experience. And just what we saying, the doc saying the same thing we saying for years, from since I've been saying over and over and over and over. But somehow we're stuck in that way where some grew up, me not change. And what? How the saying go? One are dead, fatten, and one are, how that go? I'm mixing it up. How that one go? One are dead, fatten, one are dead, rotten. How you go?
One kill fatten. When you're dead, you got the rotten.
I was dead. Just
Yeah.
just so.
Yeah,
Yes.
but that's the philosophy that many would have had, But Banky, like I say, I mean, I hear Rastafari telling them these things, and sometimes it is the messenger, Like,
You hear Dr. Martin say it all the time, Virgin, and the ground is Dr. Martin say, live how the rest of them are.
Yeah, but Banky, the thing is, a lot of these people have been programmed, and it's just like it's the same way, like how a society and a system help to indoctrinate and program the minds of many to fight against Rastafari. It's the same way there was a systematic fight from the pharmaceutical side against those who are considered herbaceutical and who were going the natural way. Just like how they went outside of the box to crucify cannabis. Imagine they know that cannabis have medicinal use or purpose, They knew it was done long, it was utilized even in America, long before they before they criminalized it and made it prohibited in 1937. If you go back to American history, you would find cannabis was used as a medicine sold in the pharmaceutical shops and drugstores and so on. But then they went on an all-out campaign to sell a lie, promote a lie, and then have the nerve after 80 plus years to come back and not even admit that it's a lie, because even though it's a lie, they have not admitted it and they don't even want to correct the lie. So after 80 plus years, they come back and telling you, they're telling you now that they're decriminalizing cannabis under the basis that it has medicinal use or purpose. When they made it prohibited, or they prohibited it, criminalized it on the basis that it has no accepted medicinal use or purpose. That's what they say. A Schedule 1 drug says that this plant has no accepted medicinal use or purpose. But yet, 80 plus years after, they're coming back to tell you that this plant, they don't want to fully legalize it. They're only going to decriminalize it based on the premise that it actually has medicinal use and purpose. And so I'm going through this to show you how sometimes the things that were fought against, it was not necessarily because they were right, but it's because some people would have had some agenda. And part of that agenda was the fact that cannabis also, it was known as a medicine, and apart from medicine, had a lot of different properties. Alternative plastic, fuel, clothing, textile, the paper industry. You wouldn't have to wait all these years for trees to grow because you can harvest hemp in 3 to 6 months. All of these different things. And it was competing with some other industry, some people who have big money and putting money in the campaign funds for the politicians and so on. And so they opted to fight cannabis. And it's the same way, those same pharmaceutical people who have the money fight against the herbal. So you, Mr. Medicine Man in the Caribbean, and you, Mr. Doctor who want to prescribe these herbs, they're telling you about clinical research and dosage and all of these things that you got to come to, you know, all because they wanted to fight against that. And so there was a lot of fight that was placed on and still continue in terms of that field. So there's a lot of people who didn't want to believe as a result of the lies that were sold. And likewise, Bankie the same way. That's why even today, even though cannabis is decriminalized, based on the lies that were sold on cannabis, their minds have been programmed so much and have been, I mean, to the point where even though it is decriminalized now, there are people still acting as if like it's illegal. And even though we have doctors like Jade, who has been around for 30 plus years, promoting this herbal way of treating yourself and so on, we still have people who would only resort to these people when all doctors give up on them and say, well, there's nothing else we could do. There's nothing else we could do to help you. And then it's a last resort. When the reality is, it should be a first resort. It should be a first resort. Your mic is muted, Bankie.
Yeah, but you realize, remember now, they have passed the act where cannabis is no longer a toxic plant. Well, it be toxic all the time. So I mean, overstand what these non-use of cannabis people who got law degrees and all these fancy thing behind alphabet letters. I also not tell people use herb for all these years, the plant non-toxic, because them now want to go into medical cannabis as a, but it's also a medical too. The banana, everything man plant is medical, you know. So
yeah,
what is supposed to talk about.
Everything is medicine. Is the same argument being made with SOSAP? Because here is it that we know in the Caribbean that SOSAP is good for all of these different things, right? But it competes against whatever drug that they're going to make in the pharmaceutical industry for these same ailments. And for them to allow a man to just go and pick some SOSAP bush to deal with his ailment, that is killing the industry. So they will do as much as they can to fight that. And it's the same thing, that's what I'm saying. That's the reason why I actually went into the cannabis, to show that cannabis happens to be one such plant as well, that have multi-purpose and multi-uses. And look at what they did. Went and said that it has no accepted medicinal use or purpose. And now see what they're doing, seeking to decriminalize it on that same basis. To say that this is the way you should use it as a medicine. And fighting all the other farms are using it. But they criminalized it and bring out police and army and kick down people's door.
Reparation, Yahsonn. We have to pay reparation. You still advocate for reparation. They have to pay man reparation. You understand? But for the disrespect and violation and harassment.
And get people to understand what we went through.
And we're not stopping the bridging.
On the basis of lies.
Yes.
On the basis of lies. Because
the whole community if you're
going to come now and say that cannabis has medicinal use or purpose, but yet in 1937 you put it in a category as a Schedule 1 drug, which states that it has no accepted medicinal use or purpose, and that is what you use to criminalize the plant. The only plant that is criminalized or was criminalized, we're still criminalized because it's still on the book as a Schedule 1 drug. So even though today they're seeking to decriminalize it on the basis that it has medicinal use or purpose, it is still on the book as a Schedule 1 drug, saying that it has no accepted medicinal use or purpose. You might mute it again. There's something happening. You're chipping out or something, because we're not hearing you on this side. No, still not hearing you. So yeah, so these are some of the kind of hypocrisies that we are dealing with, and it's some of the things that we have been dealing with as a people over the years. You know, we have been using bush. Our grandparents and great grandparents have been using bush for all these years because we ain't had no doctor and we ain't had no money to pay a doctor. But they knew, well, if you got a swollen foot, go and get this kind of bush and wrap it up and put on this kind of oil or whatever it is to help, you know, and we might not know why they did what they did, and we might not get the understanding because there was nobody back there who wrote down any books. But a lot
Yeah,
of the
but
things
these
were
are the best way of learning.
handed down.
You can hear me now?
Yeah, I'm hearing you now, yes.
You see, because one of the best way of passing down knowledge is not just written, you know, it's verbal. You see, verbal. Saying, speaking, explaining things, why this bush is this, so you understand it. Okay, you can write down things and you lose it. But when things are explained, so you know what they do is just like when your baby and your baby have ringworm and they're gonna bathe and have them bush bath with it in the same dandelion and the different type of herbs. They bathe them in. These are not just things that just pop out of the sky. These are generational and hundreds of years passed down. So it's when I grew up, my mom is, okay, go and pick some bars, go and pick some of this, go and pick some of that, go and pick this, go and pick that. You make pause, yes, are you saying something?
Yeah,
Can't hear you.
I had the mic pause, yeah, but we got a caller.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I just wanted to come back in with you guys, seeing that the guests are gone, man. You know, really big up you guys keeping this show going for all these years. And now that you guys seems like you guys are evolving, man. You guys are bringing on these guests, and you know, one of my big brothers, he recommended that. I don't know if he recommended that directly to you guys, but now that you guys are bringing on the guests, I believe that is boosting the program. You know what I mean? And it's a good move that you guys have made to bring on these different guests to broaden your scope of your discussions and stuff like that. But yeah, Yahsonn, man, I've been hearing you on the marijuana thing a lot, and some words you just uttered just now, it struck me, man, because I'm not an expert in that marijuana, but I got a lot of people around me that does that. But the comments you made just now, man, it seems very simple, like the doctor put it tonight. If that marijuana don't get removed as a class 1 drug, it's a class 1 drug, right?
Yeah, Schedule 1 drug, yes.
Schedule 1 drug. The ultimate goal is to get that removed from that Schedule 1 drug. Because if you don't move that, then a lot of the other things they're doing underneath of that is not really going to be valid. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So they're moving. They're always moving with some type of trickery with them, man. the Rastafarians, them, their ultimate goal should be to try to get that marijuana moved as Schedule 1 drug. Then everything should fall in place after that. But if they're not going to move it as a Schedule 1 drug,
but the Schedule 1 thing is in the US. That happens with here. Yahsonn, with the Schedule 1 thing, you have to do in the US. This is have nothing to do with here.
Yeah. The US is more international thing, right?
Yeah, but here the drug is not. But here Nevis is no longer is a non-poisonous plant. It's not an issue now. That's what I'm saying. So therefore, that's what I'm saying. You should not need to have an ID to have 5 or 6 trees and this nonsense. So all these things is not even. When it comes to the Sankofa case, they have to go back to the court because they still not come to the discussion where everybody have to agree with the amount of herb you're supposed to have. These 2 ounces. All this is nonsense. You can't tell me I only go have 2 ounces of herb. When me go 1 tree, I got on a pound a week. So I'm supposed to carry this to the station. What madness them talk about? These people who talking about herb, not about herb dredging. So therefore, I don't entertain people who know about herb, don't use the herb. I don't listen to them because they're part of the system. It's like these the same people telling us I'm the non-vax, so I'm the super spreader. I don't listen to these people, virgin. These people getting paid and a part of the system, so they don't really care about those who ain't with the system. So I overs that. So I just do me.
That was one. Yeah, Bankie, that was one question I don't think that we got in tonight for the doctor. the idea of taking vaccines, I wanted to get his
Well, the
take on
doctor,
that.
he will be back. He will be back. You can
Coming
find
out
out. He will be back.
Yeah, especially coming out of COVID, I just wanted to have his take on that, really. Well, great show, man, and we'll pick it up next time, man. I know you guys taking it to 10 o'clock, and it's almost that time. But I just wanted to pick up the guys that we have and keep up the good works, man.
Thank you, man.
Your gift thanks, appreciate it.
Bye.
All right, yeah, Bankie. Yeah, that's something else. With the cannabis, Bankie, and as you were talking about the Schedule 1, and it's like an American thing. Yes, to some extent, it may be American. Why I say some extent is because at the end of the day, because it is still deemed a Schedule 1 drug globally, it still has a lot of implications for international transactions, and the fact that the government sign on to the regional or international drug act, and also their relationship with America, so to speak, they have to be seemingly on the good books. Otherwise, they don't get whatever other maybe funding or assistance and so on that they should get. And then in terms of the banking side of things, that is part of the troubling area that they still have to deal with. And that is why, as the brother is saying, the real thing is for us to argue for that reclassification of cannabis. I know in America that has been a big argument, and I think that was something that Biden was, I think just before election, that was on the table, and I'm not certain if it didn't happen, because I know that was one of the discussions that they were having, that they were looking to reclassify or reschedule cannabis, because it is hypocrisy and a blatant lie if you really look at it. If you look up the definition of a Schedule 1 drug, guys, you don't have to accept what I am saying. Go and look it up. Ask Siri, ask Google, ask Alexa, ask whoever else they have out there to give you the definition of a Schedule 1 drug. And if you look up the definition of a Schedule 1 drug, I'll paraphrase what it says. In a nutshell, a Schedule 1 drug is a chemical or a substance that is deemed to have no accepted medicinal use or purpose and could be also deemed highly addictive. That is the basic definition of a Schedule 1 drug. And when you look in the category of Schedule 1 drugs, the only plant in that category is cannabis. All the other things are chemicals and substances. Yes.
Yeah, but Yahsonn, we don't. In St. Kitts Nevis, they don't pass the cannabis is a non-poisonous plant.
Yes,
so here is a non-poisonous plant. So we know about a Babylon now. So why here we get fight and they pull up people herb if it's non-poisonous? And rules again a non-poisonous plant. When we know the plant is non-poisonous. So me not take on this thing we talk about, you keep going back to this Schedule 1 thing, Here in St. Kitts and Nevis, the legislator went and passed the act say the plant is non-poisonous. And them say so. The wise guys and them. The 11 of them, how much of them in there so? And them say so. So if it's non-poisonous, then you still need to go to ecclesiastic and get a license to go to the same 5 tree or even 1 tree. Okay?
No, but
and then the same minister and all this thing. So these things that needed dredging, all this back and forth, not needed. If something is non-poisonous, you need a license to go sauce up. You need a license to go banana, tomato, bell pepper. They're all non-poisonous. So it is all just games. So why police pull up the non-poisonous plant name? Why them await them? Why you only could go into something when they got the activities and tell you how much spliff to have when they say like ounces of weed?
Because Bankie, that same plant, that even though it is deemed non-poisonous, that plant is still deemed illegal.
Where?
in St. Kitts and Nevis, it is only decriminalized.
No, the
It
plant
is
is still
only
legal.
decriminalized. No, they
No,
have
the
not
plant is
legalized.
illegal.
It's not
Yes,
legalized in
son.
St. Kitts and Nevis.
No. Yes, son. Go back again. If
Mm-hmm.
something is non-poisonous, so
Mm-hmm.
a non-poisonous plant is illegal. That what you just tell me. But how you gonna be?
Yeah.
It can't be both because I have it for medicine. You see what I mean? So you don't necessarily
No,
what
no,
you
no.
just say.
No,
We just what it says.
no,
So,
but poppy
illegal and it not
the
illegal?
cocoa plant in poisonous. The cocoa plant in poisonous.
No, it's not poisonous. But when you convert it into making cocaine, now you're transferring and adding all kind of different stuff to it because you could chew it when you go into high elevation. And you understand, your airwaves, but when you just convert it from you, there's a process you're making. You're not in a
Yeah,
process with cannabis plant.
but here is it. Right, and that is where the hypocrisy comes in, and that is why it is important to point out the lie, and that's what I'm saying. Because when you look at the definition of a Schedule 1 drug, cannabis should have never been in there in the first instance, and that's what I'm saying. It
Yeah,
should have never been there.
who was that?
But it has been placed there, and it is still there. It should have never been there, but it is still there. You might mute it. You might mute it. It's still in the
Yeah.
category.
I overs.
It's in the category of a Schedule 1 drug, which says.
Yeah, but they're still making millions at the same time. Each state. That's federal.
Yeah,
That's federal. But each state.
they criminalized it. In the other states, they
Yes.
decriminalize it and they use it to make money, like we are about to
Of
do in
course.
St. Kitts and Nevis. So what I'm pointing out is the hypocrisy. The hypocrisy is that it is decriminalized under the premise that it has medicinal use or purpose. That is what they're saying, yeah. That's why the government is pushing the medicinal side of it. That is why St. Kitts and Nevis have chosen to focus on medicinal cannabis. Whilst
That's not in the medical cannabis. The herb is always a medicinal
that's
plant.
what the government are push. Okay, but that's what the government is a push.
Them
And
can
that's
push,
what the legal. That's what they pushing.
that is fine, yes, son. But if I know the plant is, I've been using the plant for more than
When
30
me and you
years,
know,
so
me
I
and
don't
you know
need this.
this Bankie.
Well, that's
Me and you know.
but it doesn't mean you alone. Not me and you alone.
No,
Others
but
know
what I'm
too.
saying,
That's
what I'm saying. Me and you know this, you know. We know this, you know. Most of us know this, especially on the Rastafari side, you know, because we see the whole plan. We use the whole
Well,
plan. We don't
beyond the Rasta part of it, because most who use the herb not relax on the head. So let me make that clear. The herb users not relax on the head.
A lot of them,
So
yes.
most of them, because you got more who relax on the head than Rasta in St. Kitts Nevis. So all the herb going to smoke by Rasta. And you know that.
Right.
Who use herb more than the rest of them not use no herb. That I think them use herb because in some of them they not smoke no herb. The man who use the herb and the female who use the herb not relax on the head. Let's put it like that. And that's what I keep always saying all the time. The rest is because all this no man who not relax on the head about more chalice than man who got relax on the head. And use herb that man, cause my uncle, I grew up with my uncle and them for years, and my uncle Flake who don't transition never had lax on the head. My uncle Mansa got lax on the head late. In his elder years, in his 40s, and I can advise the man to put lax on the head. The man had lax growing up all the time when me a youth, and the man in the 20s and 30s, and the man born the most herb, and I got the most herb. So this is the environment I grew up in, so I know that. So herb have nothing to do with lax. You see what I mean? Can the man who say use herb and can get use herb every day, they relax on the head. It's everyday people. That's what I tell them. Herb. People who use herb is like the gay community. You don't know who gay. Are the same thing with herb. You don't know who use herb. Because all these men who go inside there so don't pass this act. They got family members who use herb, who have no kind of criminal record, go up to the working act in different areas, in the banks, in the hospital, in every way we throughout society. But our society not like to say lax because of the religious system. That is the issue. You see? So when all the fight, you don't fight a people because your religious belief, and the same system put these things in place where is for your sacrament, just as the doctor say, is for your sacrament, your spiritual belief. How can you hurt your own people and then come back and tell them no, or you're going to expunge minor increments, not near minor when you infringe on a man's rights. And the other get in the head, not near minor virgin. If me also sit down with a little roach and you come to harass me, it's my way to have the roach. 20 years later, you can't come back and say, you're sorry, you know? Because I wasn't doing nothing wrong in the beginning. That is the whole point. So all the harassment people get for over the years. So I was said, no, everything is no work so virgin. In a work so. So me not take on these people with the ignorance. It's just the Christian disaster.
The Bankie,
The leader, the same
you
thing.
realize what you just said a while ago is exactly what I am saying with the argument that I am presenting with the Schedule 1 job.
Yeah.
Because what I
Yeah,
am
but we
saying,
wrap up now,
yes,
too, because we're done. We now pass the time.
what I am
So go ahead.
saying is it should have never been on that list in the first instance. So all who get
Well,
locked up from
of course, we know
1937,
that. Of course, we know that.
1937, it never happened.
Yes,
And even though
yes,
they decriminalize it, it's still on the books.
yes.
Anyway, people, I mean, that's just what I want y'all to understand as a part of the struggle that we're dealing with. And this is part of why some of the
Yes.
challenges that we are being faced with, even in St. Kitts and Nevis. It was a pleasure having you guys, with us on this extended version of Everything Agriculture. I think it was a very, very important discussion this evening with our guests from Jade. I am really, really happy that Jade has two understudies from Nevis working with them and are so open to sharing the knowledge. So I really, really, really thank you, Bankie, for getting this these guests together, and I look forward to having them again. I'm sure those of us who listened this evening definitely were blessed with all the information that was shared, and we look forward to having you guys next week Tuesday for another edition of the topics, and next week Friday for another edition of Everything Agriculture. I want to say thanks to all of
We have
you
mentioned the
who.
guests them for
Yeah,
next week.
I'll
The
let you do
guests
that.
from.
I'll let you do that when
Okay.
I'll let
All
you do
right.
that when you're up.
Okay.
I just want to say thanks to all of those who logged on to our Facebook platform, those who subscribe to the YouTube platform. Please go over to the YouTube and subscribe to the YouTube platform. We want to make sure that you're over on that platform. We're going to be doing a lot more on that side of things. So until next week Tuesday, enough respect, Bankie. You close out.
Yes, I just want to thank the listening and viewing audience. Remember, you're the guys who make this show. Yahsonn and myself will probably just here speaking to ourselves. We're nobody viewing, and we're just rambling to ourselves. We don't really make any sense if no one is viewing. So even if it's just you, we appreciate you guys, and also thank those who always share the link and subscribe. Remember to subscribe. Also, next week Tuesday, our guest will be James Gaskell Senior and Charles Gaskell's son. We will be speaking about the SSZ and the importance of land. And Mr. Gaskell himself also is a hotelier and a large landowner who have owned larger pieces of land on the island also. So it's very interesting to see how he feel about this SSZ and this large amount of land that is going on. And then on Friday, on the Everything Agriculture show, we'll have one of the guests was just here, Akiesha Fergus, along with her partner, Ryan Kadu. We're speaking about farming, how they've been doing into farming business and the entrepreneurship and how everything is going. Also, then on the 28th, we'll have Janice Daniel Hodge. She'll be our guest on the topics. There'll be the 28th, and then on the 31st, the end of the month, we'll have the PS of Agriculture from St. Kitts, Mr. Miguel Fleming. So we have a pack house this month. And then continue into November, then continue bring out the guests. But just want to give you a quick lineup. So next week, Tuesday, we have James Gaskell along with his son, Charles Gaskell. And then on the Friday, we have Akiesha Fergus along with Ryan Kadu. We're speaking agriculture. And then on the 28th, I'm back on the topics again. We have Janice Daniel Hodge looking definitely for that reasoning when it comes to what's going on within the NRP section, their plans for the future and all it, and stuff like that. And then on the Friday, the 31st, we have the PS of Agriculture in St. Kitts, Miguel Fleming. So, folks, definitely thank you guys again for choosing Real Entertainment. Big up all those in the background, Ira, Reese, Alan, Chev, all those who are part, and also big up my marketing person who make the flyers. See all those beautiful flyers. That's a marketing person in the background doing all those good stuff. So definitely, I also want to shout out my daughter Jamila out in New York. So, Yahsonn, appreciate you guys tuning in and listening everything I got to the show. Until next week, Tuesday and Friday, we out.
Culture with the man Bankie and Company alongside Yahsonn Tafari. It's your weekly educational show. And tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture.